Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chud Watch. How are you doing? Oh no, you can see the YouTube playlist I'm using for background music, the horror. Welcome everyone to another episode of Chud Watch. I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. Not that fragile. Thank you for subscribing with a 7-month streak. I appreciate the support. How are you all doing today? I hope you're doing well. I'm Tim pooling it up with the beanie today. I'm having a very bad hair day, so you get beanie. You get beanie Hannah today. Thank you, Reese the alpaca. I'm having a pretty good day. So yeah, let's take a look at what we're looking at today. As you saw from the title of the stream, YouTube has banned election conspiracy theories. Tim Pool's pissed, and so is Dave Rubin. So, that's fun.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Puffin Time, thank you for subscribing. The Ender 92 and 20 bits. I saw this announcement and wanted to squeal out loud at all the censorship videos that people like Styx and John are gonna put out. It just happened today, so there aren't a ton of videos. I did, however, pull up Styx's video. Styx does have a new video on this. But the other ones haven't come out yet, but I did want to cover it sort of in general. Just read this article and talk about it a little bit, and then we can watch Styx's video on his reaction to feeling like he's being censored for not being able to lay slanderous claims at the feet of the president-elect. We have The Quartering. This is just a funny meme video. I just thought it would be fun. He's reporting on a report that someone says aliens are real and Donald Trump knows. I just thought that might be a fun, change of pace. John Doyle is a new video entitled 5 Wake-Up Calls for Conservatives that we're going to take a look at. We have Overlord DVD, aka Doomcock. He has a new Brie Larson video, so we're going to watch that. And then we'll probably do some MAGA cope stuff too, because that seems to be something we've been doing lately. No red robe. I know, right? Brie Larson's biggest fan. Jeremy is Brie Larson's biggest fan. Doomcock's just a Nazi. Allegedly. The new TOS for Twitch. Can't wait for Lance's stream before the end. Yeah, Twitch new TOS. Basically, you cannot show a Confederate flag, and you can't talk about people's looks in a lewd manner, something along those lines, which is fine. I don't thirst post anyway, so I don't really care, but I do find it funny that they felt the need to do that. Claydonius says, if Trump was gonna do disclosure, he would have by now. It ain't happening. You think they would tell Trump that shit if it was real? Trump's delusional. He's a narcissist. I don't think you can get anything, Do I get money when you use channel points? Relatively new to Twitch. No, channel points are just something you get for, like, loyalty to watching the streams. And it highlights messages. I don't get money. It's just an incentive for people to watch the streams and stuff. Bits, I get money, and subs, I get money. If that's something you care about. But have YouTube started banning QAnon stuff? They have. Which is why I've been covering it less on Tinfoil Tuesday. Because it's harder to find, which I'm happy. I'm very happy about that. It's got to be specific, though. QAnon claims are banned from YouTube if they're accusing specific people of specific things. Like the other day on Tinfoil Tuesday, we covered someone claiming Tom Hanks is like a pedophile. Completely unfounded allegations. Like, that could get removed, that person's video, from YouTube for that. But, like, if you're just general QAnon stuff, I think that's still allowed. But a lot of the QAnon stuff has specific claims, so. MH Darkbeast, thank you for subscribing with a 7-month streak. MH Darkbeast says, praise the tinfoil queen. You want some tasty simping for Jeremy? And it's a link. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I literally looked at this video as a potential video for today's Chud Watch. I don't know if we'll get to this, but it's Yellow Flash 2, who's another one of these media chuds that uses their platform to talk about video games and movies, but does so in a right-wing way. Basically bashes feminism or any sort of diversity, that kind of stuff. Apparently has a new video that they want the quartering banned for criticizing Cyberpunk 2077 reviews. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case, but okay. Altered Rin with 20 bits. I hope I'm not bugging you, but I'm not sure if you got distracted. I sent you questions for the alt-right pipeline documentary I'm doing for a class. Yeah, shoot, I do have to check that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't get to that yesterday. I forgot. Maybe shoot me another message after the stream so I remember on Twitter. Who? By the way, the D&D stream is moved from tonight to tomorrow. If you watch the D&D stream we do over at Actual Jake's channel, that has been moved because Cyberpunk comes out this evening. So. And now we can't thirst over Hassan's tiny head. Funny. Jeremy got mad over Cyberpunk for what? I think he was criticizing the reviews or something. I didn't really follow it. I tend to only like to watch the Quarterings videos if they're, I mean, like to watch, in the way I watch them, not in an unironic way. If they're about, like, Brie Larson or Marvel. I don't usually watch his video game shit. He just complains about diversity and, like, women being in games being political, so what's the point? The Meru Sama says, I heard there's a potential seizure thing in Cyberpunk. Yeah, apparently a reviewer, I think, who has epilepsy. I guess I could be wrong, but I'd imagine, you know, they have epilepsy or something, that they have a photosensitivity that causes seizures. And they apparently had seizures induced by something in Cyberpunk. I don't know the specifics. It was so fucked up, though, because then a bunch of gamers, I use air quotes, but they are gamers, but, you know, the type of people who are like, I'm a gamer, I'm a hardcore gamer. They started sending her intentionally seizure-inducing videos because they were mad she, like, mentioned a negative thing in a review. It wasn't even really negative. It was just like her being like, hey, warning, there's some epileptic seizure stuff that could be happening in the video. And a bunch of gamers decided to send her videos that could, like, trigger her epilepsy. It's really fucked up. She gave it a 9 out of 10. Yeah, see, it's not even a bad fucking review. That's about what I expected for Cyberpunk. 8s, 9s-ish. People are such shit. I hate people so much. They're so bad.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Fickett Izzy with 100 bits. So you said you liked graphic novels, so today's good queer book rec is Rat Queens by Weeb, Upchurch, and Brysom. Very good. Fantasy D&D-esque disaster queers. Okay. And that's called, let's see, Rat Queens. Good rec. Good recommendation. The Under 92 with 20 bits, apparently they literally put Google on your character, and they play something that is akin, if not worse, to the Pokemon Porygon scene. I assume the Google is a typo of some sort. They put Google on your character. Oh, goggles, probably. You're probably trying to say goggles. Gotcha. Yeah, they should probably alter that with a patch or something. That's not safe. Apparently, the flashing sequence is mega similar to what doctors use to induce seizures. Yikes. Fickett Izzy, congrats on the 1,000 bits badge. Nice. Anyway. So I don't know. We'll probably start with some MAGA cope, I guess. Is the music low enough that you can still, like, hear me talk and everything? I'm using a different... I usually use an app in Streamlabs to play music in the background when I do, but that started getting me dinged on YouTube for, not necessarily DMCAs, but it's just automatically picking up the music even though it's licensed music for the app. It's licensed for Twitch, basically, but it's not necessarily for YouTube. So I switched over to, like, royalty-free music on YouTube. So, too loud? Okay, I'll turn it down. Towing 24 or 20-bit shit like this makes me glad I didn't break into the game industry. Let me turn it down. How's that? Is that any better in terms of volume? Like, can you hear me well enough that it's not distracting? If it's not, I can turn it off. I don't have as good. Someone says they can't hear it at all. I'd rather you not hear it at all than be too loud, because it's kind of hard on the YouTube volume thing to... Now someone says too low. Jesus Christ. It's fine. I'm gonna say it's fine. Alright, so I guess let's start as we have been with some MAGA cope stuff, just for funsies. So we had some multiple news since, you know, the last time we did the MAGA cope stuff. So... As we all know, the people in denial of the election, let's say, all along, they've been saying a lot of things in terms of goalpost moving. Oh, they'll say the media doesn't call elections, even though the media didn't call the election. They just said who the projected winner is based on math. Then, of course, they pushed it out to, oh, hey, well, the states haven't certified their elections. Now they have. Every state has certified the election at this point. Yesterday was the safe harbor date for that. I'm sure now they're looking towards the electoral vote that's on the 14th, which is in 5 days. DVDO, thank you for following. And, of course, this whole time they've also been hyping up the idea that some case is going to get to the Supreme Court. And oh my god, they're gonna overturn the election for Donald Trump. Anyway, the first thing got to the Supreme Court yesterday in terms of when they decided to hear it or not. They decided not to hear that case at all. It was the Pennsylvania election suit. We actually read the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision the other day on the channel. And then, of course, the MAGA people were like, oh, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. Went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's like, we're not hearing it. Not only did they say they're not going to hear it, explicitly there was no dissent. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a 9-0 decision, but it means that even if there were any of the judges that decided to disagree with that decision to not hear the case, they didn't write anything about it. So, it seems like a pretty clear refutation of this idea that they're going to try and overturn the election or whatever in the Supreme Court. So, interesting stuff. There's now a Texas lawsuit, which I think a couple other states have signed on to at this point, that's incredibly stupid as well, that's supposed to similarly go up to the Supreme Court in the next week or so in order to try and determine if they're going to hear it. I'd also imagine that case isn't going to go anywhere because the case is basically Texas saying, we want to determine how Pennsylvania does their elections. It's very stupid. The states run their own elections. Texas can't tell Pennsylvania how to run their elections any more than Pennsylvania can tell Texas. So it's very stupid and short-sighted, also, considering a state like California, for instance, would then have an opening to sue someplace like Texas over, like, voter ID laws. So, I don't know what the strategy there is, but that's gonna be funny. So, MAGA people have kind of been freaking out the past day or so. A lot of their hopes have been dashed, just for context. I don't know if any of that will be in the MAGA cope stuff here, but in case it is, that's the backstory of what's going on. So let's see. This person says, the CEO of Goya Foods is a badass, and I'm gonna go buy some more adobo seasoning tomorrow. And this person says, remember when Trump lost the election? No, I don't, because he won both. No, that's factually untrue. 74 Quinn, 74, 20 bits. I want more legal clapbacks like from Pennsylvania. I do want to start reading some more legal documents and stuff soon. I'm not a lawyer, so it's not like I'm going to understand them in depth like someone like Leonard French, but like still, there's some entertainment value to be gained from them, I think. Cherry Vanilla Dreams with 25 bits. You think the GOP would attempt to impeach Biden after his inauguration? They could try. I don't think it'll work, though, because they don't control the House, and the House is who votes on impeachment. Then it moves over to the Senate for the actual, like, trial, and then the Senate decides to remove. But I don't even think they'd be able to impeach Biden in the first place because they don't control the House. Like, the Democrats lost seats in the House, but they still have a control, right? That's why the Senate election that's happening in Georgia, the runoff, is so important, because currently Democrats already control the House and will in January, and then if they're able to win the 2 runoffs, then it'll be a 50-50 in the Senate, and then Kamala would be the tiebreaker, similar to how Pence was the tiebreaker back in, like, 2017, 2018. Just take the LSAT like Destiny did. No thanks. Do you really want to see me fail a test? That doesn't really make sense. Okay, here's Sidney Powell, who's been photoshopped onto the lady from Resident Evil. Do people even like the Resident Evil movies? And there she is again, as Wonder Woman, superimposed in front of a Kraken. Nothing can stop the Kraken, it says. Guys, the Kraken lawsuit that she filed got thrown out immediately. We looked at that again the other day. The typo-filled one that's misspelled district 2 different ways in the first, like, line. It got thrown out. Batty Bell with 100 bits. Hope everyone is having a lovely day. I hope everyone is too. What's this? Never interrupt a dangerous animal when they're in the process of destroying themselves. I wasn't drunk, alleged voter fraud witness Melissa Carone responds after going viral. That was her post. Did you see that? I don't know. It's possible, and the meme has been that she's drunk. It's possible. But just for the record, she's from, like, Michigan. Sometimes people just talk like that in Michigan. There are some Midwestern people that just sound like they're drunk all the time. I know that sounds weird, or maybe that's the rampant alcoholism in the Midwest and I'm just not detecting it. But I have known people in my life who have talked like that. Anyway, let's see. This person's... Oh no, it's a Minecraft meme about Joe Biden. Sniff, sniff. Biden is a creeper. Don't watch fake news. And it says, I heart Soros. Socialism stinks. Oh no. What does a Republican build in Minecraft? Do Republicans in Minecraft just go into the villages and immediately, like, mine all the villagers' houses and steal all their crops and go, they didn't work for it hard enough? Andrew Dickerson with 20 bits. Donald Trump is experiencing gold experience Requiem's ability. He will never reach the truth. He will only experience perpetual defeat. Gold experience Requiem's ability. I don't know what those words in that order mean. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Maybe they are never sober like the Polish. Throw 2 shots of vodka into your breakfast coffee. It's possible. This person says, I think he won it all, not just because I wanted that to happen, but it makes common sense. Oh no. No, it doesn't. Donald Trump never got over like a 46 or 47% approval rating. Why are these people shocked he lost? People don't like him. Oh no. This person is, I'm guessing, an Instagram influencer person who is also doing Trump. Look at that bedazzled hat. That is an ugly hat. That's a denim hat with Trump bedazzling on it. Rhinestones and shit. This is what they would make, and then there's a link. Oh no, this person built Auschwitz in there. Oh no. This This is also, secondarily, the blurriest fucking YouTube video in the history of YouTube videos. Has this been ripped and reposted 50,000 times? Jesus Christ. Okay, this is Soylent. POV. You're me trying to decide what to have for breakfast. I don't know what this... I know Baja drinks the Soylent stuff. I'm not familiar with it, though. And I'm not sure why it's on this Twitter in the first place. This person says, I still can't understand how a socialist pervert could even get one vote in this election. Pelosi has a plan to work her way to be president, and Joe is part of the plan. They'll declare him incompetent if he gets elected. Then the other socialist vice president will resign. Who will be president then? The evil witch Pelosi. Goodbye to your guns. Your wages will drop tremendously because of new taxes. Military funding will drop. Borders will be wide open to give terrorists easy passage to the U.S. And when Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and the looters and any other American-hating organizations have the country in turmoil, martial law will be declared. We'll let them try to take our freedoms. Hitler tried and failed, and so will the Democrats. Jesus Christ, yikerinos. Did a learning AI write this after reading a bunch of Parler posts? It's got all the beats. Also, the idea that people on the left like Pelosi, what the heck is that about? I think most, at least younger people, recognize that Pelosi's, like, really, really bad at her job. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I ordered a new character art commission. I'll share it with y'all when it's done. Nice. Okay, cool. Does anybody like Pelosi? Apparently the Democrat establishment does, because she keeps getting selected for the majority leader in the House. Destiny's friend got mad during a Twitter argument, then Destiny decided to take the LSAT. Destiny's friend said that they got a 184 on it, then got suspended on Twitter. This is truly a tale for the history books. Okay, so wait. Why did Destiny try and take the LSATs? I don't understand. And then why did their account get suspended? This person who said Destiny... What's a good score on the LSATs? I don't know. Is anyone in the chat a lawyer that would know who's taking the LSATs? Because he's a narcissist. Destiny! Is Destiny 180 is the max? Jesus Christ. Okay, so he was saying he got more than he could potentially get. Okay, so did Destiny literally take the LSATs just because he thought, even without studying, like, law, that he's just a big brain who can, like, do it with no practice, or what? Because that's hilarious, honestly. That's stupid.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
He didn't get past the first question. Comrade Devin with 20 bits. I saw a video from Vice where a guy tried only living off Soylent for 30 days, and that wasn't the gross part. He found mold in the powdered Soylent and rats in their warehouse. The guy who started the company is super weird, too. Linked in case you want to see. Oh, okay. Interesting. LSAT is just logic test, by the way? Oh, okay. I'm not familiar. Maybe for fun we'll take it sometime and meme about the Destiny thing. That would be funny. I probably wouldn't be very good at it. Let's see what this person says on Parler. This liar doesn't have COVID. It's a hoax. She just doesn't want to fight for Trump anymore. She's been compromised, probably getting paid by Fidel Castro to fake COVID. Oh, no. I assume he's talking about the lady who sat next to Giuliani at that thing, who caught the COVID, probably from Giuliani. Do you think she caught it from his fart? Can you catch COVID via farts? Also, yes, Fidel Castro, which is very funny. Oh, no! This person says, made a femboy-friendly MAGA hat for Femboy Friday, hashtag femboys. And it's like a Catboy MAGA hat. Oh, no! I know Fidel Castro's been dead. Do I need to explain that? Do I need to explain to people that Fidel Castro's dead? I think everyone knows that.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tucker White 94, not the femboys. What's this? Caitlin Bennett on Parler. My views on YouTube last month versus this month. Really frustrating being silenced by big tech for supporting the president. They don't want us to be able to get out the truth. Let me see, this is a month ago, 360 views, 819 views, and lately it's 30, 71, 70, 75. Caitlin, it's possible YouTube's like throttling your ability to get your content out to people. I have no idea. They do that to try and push certain content preferences. But I also think a big factor in that is probably because people don't want to listen to political bullshit after they lose an election. Up to the election, Trump supporters were all riled up. And after the election, he lost. So they don't want to watch your content about it anymore, at least not right now. Like, there are certainly Trump supporters who are in complete denial, but I'd like to think, and again, I have no data on this, even though there are a ton of very loud people on the internet who don't think Biden won the election or think there was fraud or whatever bullshit thing. I'd like to think the majority of Republicans are like, okay, fine. At least the ones over 20, you know? The ones who've dealt with losing elections before, because that's part of democracy. MMO addicted with 20 bits. Yes, Fidel Castro, the great, Leash Master? The immortal communist necromancer. Oh, Lich Master, sorry. The immortal communist necromancer who will raise an army of zombie laborers to toil for everyone as we all just live in opulence and femboy orgies. All hail. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's always about the femboys with you guys. It's always the femboys. Let's see what this person says. Can't believe Stacey Abrams was able to get all 9 justices of SCOTUS, Brian Kemp, Doug Ducey, and so many more ideological opposites to work together so seamlessly in this election conspiracy. Big Yikes Frankie with 25 bits. Observing the MAGA crowd post-election is like watching a wacky inflatable arm-flailing tube man deflate. I wish more of them would chill out, but yeah, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Overturn this fraudulent election and prosecute all federal, state, and local officials that conducted these treasonous crimes against all Americans. That'd be great. Incarcerating everyone who volunteers to work for an election, that's reasonable. The only way to sort out the election fraud is to overturn the election. If not overturned, it will destroy America. It's so frustrating listening to these people talk about, like, declaring martial law, destroying democracy, and installing a dictatorship, while also claiming the other side is doing that, and that's their reason. It would be like if someone came up to you and started swinging at you to punch you in the face, and while they're doing it, they're just like, why are you trying to punch me? Why are you trying to punch me? It's like, you're literally the one doing the thing you're describing. It's so frustrating. Fascists gonna fash, though. Tucker White 94, 20 bets. FYI, Evan's tweet was sarcastic. He even said it in reply to Coping MAGA. Oh, I know. I know that one was sarcastic. But it is an encapsulation, I think, of how a lot of Trump supporters who believe the fraud narrative are going about their beliefs in terms of, oh, everyone's in on it. It's just crazy. It's always projection with them. Yeah. Republicans in 1865. I just shot 60 slave owners. Republicans in 2020. I can't sleep without my Donald Trump body pillow.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Geez, sir. I get that it's annoying to deal with cranky old lady who runs the polling booth, but even she doesn't deserve to go to prison. Here's more parlor stuff. Yeah, here's another person calling for martial law.
The tools of capitalism.
Harry K5 with 20 bets. I keep hearing about martial law. Is it an MMA thing? It's not an MMA thing. This person says, only possible solution is martial law now. Declare current election illegal. Set January 3rd as new election date. Absentee ballots must be in by that date. All other voting in person with proper ID and precinct you're registered in. Voting ends at, and then it goes on. This person replies, wow, America as we know it is over. We must now recognize, I assume it's supposed to be, we must now recognize that there is no democracy, not republic, it's all facade. What's next? Resistance in all forms. I see no moral reason to limit resistance to legal means. We've lived enough under a two-tiered justice system. Enough is enough. We have the Second Amendment. The situation we find ourselves in is now precisely why we fought all these years to preserve it. So yeah, some of these people on Parler are literally, I hope the FBI, at least some of the reasonable people in the FBI are keeping an eye on these psychos, because they're gonna do some shit. Not necessarily widespread, but there will be incidents of violence probably as it gets closer to January 20th and after. It's gonna be bad, because these people have been radicalized and shuffled off to places like Parler, where they're even more radicalized than they already had been prior. It's a recipe for disaster. Let me put it that way. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. The Parler F is so close. It's all facade, but not for reasons you think. It's perfectly reasonable, for instance, to recognize, like, hey, the rule of law in this country is in danger. It seems like there are two tiers of justice, one for the poor and one for the wealthy, and that's a reasonable thing to recognize. But if you think the person who's going to save you is Donald Trump, you are delusional. That is crazy. He's one of the people who is benefiting from this two-tiered justice system. It's like when people, I've seen some people like, ooh, I can't wait for Trump to get out of office so we can be arrested. It's like, what? Donald Trump will never face consequences for any of his actions. Are you kidding me? Like, George W. Bush committed war crimes, and he's out there, like, on Ellen, showing people his paintings. Just you watch. Someone's gonna try, and I don't know if it'll be successful, because Trump is a bigger asshole. Let me be clear. George W. Bush committed war crimes, which are worse. However, Trump is more abrasive in his personality, right? Someone's gonna try and reform Trump's image at some point, and I don't think it'll work because he's, you know, more dickish, but it's that thing. In America, you gotta look at the presidents in some sort of positive way, even if they're absolute shit. It's very frustrating. Dracon with 20 bits. The only way Trump ends up in jail is if he does something that hurts the rich. Yeah. That's basically the only time rich people face any sort of justice, is if they hurt other rich people. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Until Joe Biden becomes the communist, the communist MAGA Chuds think he is, Donald Trump will never face criminal charges. Yeah. I do find the image of communist Joe Biden to be very funny. Liberty Hangout says separation of church and state is for losers and Satanists. We should absolutely be forcing our Christian values on the country. Look what the alternative has become. Again, the irony of this coming out of a channel that calls themselves Liberty Hangout. Is it lost on them, or do they understand and just find it funny? I don't know. There's someone in a Donald Trump shirt with the Donald Trump flag. Oh, no. Every American that stands for freedom, stand united and support Sidney Powell 100%. The world watching, all the corrupted politicians revealing themselves that's involved in this despicable act of voter fraud. Beware Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden indictments are coming. Been hearing this for years, guys. I've been following QAnon, not because I believe it, because of course it's bullshit, but because I'm into conspiracy theories. As an outside observer, I find them fascinating. They've been saying for years that all these indictments, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming. Back in 2017, QAnon claimed that Hillary Clinton had already been arrested. What do you know? Turns out that wasn't true. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. The guy in the Trump flag also runs Liberty Hangout's Twitter account, and he claims to be a black guy. What is up with them doing that? Come on, guys. Stop. Do they not realize how fucking stupid it is for them to do that? What's this? It just exploded. It hit nothing. This fascist intimidation because cars don't just explode other than having a bomb on board. Today in Georgia, just hours ago, Governor Bryant Kemp called for a full signature audit of Georgia elections. Kemp's boyfriend was killed in a traffic accident. He happened to be a staffer of Republican Senate Kelly Loeffler, who was involved in a critical runoff. Multiple witnesses report the car exploding and that there was no collision. Make no mistake, this was a message for Kemp to get back in line after the audit was called for. Evil is at work in our nation. Keep supporting Trump. Yikes. No. I assume that guy just got in a car accident, and that's sad for anyone to get in, like, a horrible accident like that. Blaming it on some sort of deep state is absolutely ridiculous. Necolillian with some bits. Hey, Hannah, wanted to say I listened to a past recording of yours with the Ben Shapiro parody, and it was hard not to laugh in the middle of getting a tattoo. I hope your new tattoo is cool. What's this? Nicole Arbor says, if you are a celeb who uses changing genders, being gay, losing a baby, or your kid being trans for press, you gross. This person says, exactly. Why do these things need to be announced? Keep your private life private, weirdos. And by weirdos, I mean people who advertise their private life all over social media to see. And then this person on their Twitter has mom of one hockey player and 2 dancers, an ACD and 2 cats, music and fashion lover, conservative, does not mean blindly Republican, hippie, Grateful Dead lover, Catholic. It's almost like they only want people to not talk about their identities out in the open when it's an identity that they think is somehow bad. It's an identity that they think is sinful, even though it's not hurting anyone. Funny how that works. Empty the tanks with 20 bits. My grandparents have gone full Trump supporter, election truther. They think everyone is being brainwashed against him. Reminder, we are Australia. The idiocy has made across the ocean. It's absolutely crazy. It really is. Hippie and conservative, yeah.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tucker White 94, 20 bits. I'm pretty sure conservative, hippie is a contradiction of terms. By hippie, they probably just mean they smoke weed. Or do acid or something. Or they, like, I don't know, have a garden. I don't know. I assume the use of hippie is very loose. This person says, I think I'm the Donald.win. The communists are coming for you. They will not stop. They cannot be reasoned with. They do not feel pity, remorse, or fear. And they absolutely will not stop ever until you're dead. These are... communist, they're not your fellow Americans. They hate America and Americans and only have one purpose, your destruction. Communism is a mind virus spread by a blood cult of lunatic psychopaths that see death, chaos, and destruction as heaven on earth. They are here. They are coming for you. That's not fear-mongery at all. Again, I say to people like that, communism is not a mainstream belief in the United States. It hasn't, like, been in a really, really, really long time, right? And I'm talking, like, pre-World War II stuff. No. Nope. Communism is not a threat to you. Even people like me, I'm not a communist. I'm like a democratic socialist, and that's not communism. And if you don't know the difference, then perhaps you should go read and learn about the things that you're demonizing. Doom Smoothie with 20 bits just got here, had a good work day because my favorite customer came in, an old gay man who absolutely actually respects my pronouns. Thought I'd share some good vibes. Right on.
There's nothing funny about the
good for that, dude.
Capitalism.
Tucker White 94 20 bits has communism ever been mainstream in the United States? There were... how do I put this? There were labor movements that you could say were going in that direction in the last century, but like not the way that we're talking. I'm not talking about, like, how do I put this?
There's nothing funny about
not popular, but they did exist. Stone Corbell with 20 bits. I'm communist adjacent and don't want to kill anyone. What the hell do these people think communism is? I think they think it's literally like Stalinist Russia stuff. Empty the tanks with 20 bits. Is left fearless, ruthless communist or soy boy snowflakes? Pick one. Yeah. That's what fascists do. The enemy is both weak and strong at the same time.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Maybe God sent Trump as a messenger of Earth's salvation the same way he sent Noah and Moses during their troubling times to save his people, to show us how we have been led astray and lied to for so long. Sometimes you cannot tell people the truth, you must show them. God wins. The conflation of people's religious ideology with the Trump stuff is so icky to me. Like, if you're religious, whatever, as long as you're not hurting someone, but when you start to tie your religion to your politics like that, it is a recipe for disaster. Tucker White 94, the only mainstream communist I can think of is Woody Guthrie, and then Ashy Boo 72 at 20 bits. My dad lost a friend of 14 years last night because the guy thinks my dad is too far left. He literally warned my dad that he would regret his beliefs when he was in a Marxist communist gulag. How do you de-radicalize people? We need to figure that out at some point. Now that Sidney Powell is out, this person says, Sidney Powell is a double agent. The Dems planted her on the Trump legal team. She was paid $2 billion to hoodwink Trump and his supporters. The machines did not flip 7 million votes. Sidney has left the U.S. under the protection of the Democrats. Tucker Carlson sniffed her shit and called her out. She panicked and got the hell out of the country. Untrue. She's just a weirdo. Sidney Powell's Michael Flynn's attorney, for fuck's sake. And also $2 billion. Yeah, sure, that's a lot of money. This guy says, oh, wait, guess what? We got till January 20th for it to be officially. The news just pushing it right now. Trump won't lose this. He won't let it happen. He's suing multiple states for voter fraud and has demanded a recount after they've been caught cheating. There have been multiple recounts. All the lawsuits have been thrown out, including the Pennsylvania one in the Supreme Court. So seems like Trump will be the 2020 president after all, when all this bullcrap and the liberals have done to our country is sorted out. Oh god, this one's all text. This one says, I honestly will be so happy when y'all, lib, and then, you know, suffix that is not something I'm gonna say. Get what you wanted. Have fun being slaves and being decapitated and killed by the Chinese and Russians when we are overrun, and or when a civil war will happen. I want to keep my money. I've worked hard for not getting taxed 62 to 75% from the Biden-Sanders manifesto. Have they read anything that the Biden campaign has put out in terms of their tax proposals? Gonna cause economic shutdowns of our country and another Great Depression. It's also funny how y'all voted in a racist, homophobic pedophile. If y'all don't believe me, just look up the racist and homophobic things Joe Biden has said that the liberal news won't cover. I'm a Christian and have different beliefs than the liberals, clearly. You can't be a liberal and a Christian at the same time. Both believe in totally different ideas, but the truth is America was built on God's name, and the ideas now aren't for him. We will be the next Sodom and Gomorrah, but no matter what, I'm still standing for the flag in the name of the great country of America, and will die for it if I have to, too. FBI, maybe take a look at that guy. Seems like he wants to do some not so great stuff. MMO addicted USSR PTSD. In the former Soviet republics, you would actually be better off not labeling yourself that. Even though social policies and general socialism is pretty popular, USSR showed the worst possible implementation of communism, same as the US is now showing the worst of capitalism. I was gonna do Tanky Watch today, by the way, but I gotta go. I have a bunch of channels lined up, but I gotta go in and find specific videos that I can talk about. Gotta love a country where you can sell it out for profit, get paid a lot for doing little to nothing, have a cokehead for a son, and have people think that you're a great guy. I think it says a lot about people on the right that they think that having a family member with a drug addiction is somehow, like, a moral wrongdoing on your part. It's revealing, isn't it? Tucker White 94 20 bits. Funny, I've flown over the United States many times and have never seen the land shaped in the form of the word God. Buzzing. This person says, imagine a vaccine so safe you had to be threatened to take it. For a disease so deadly you have to be tested to know you have it. Again, anti-vaxxers are a thing, which is why, first of all, so far you're not being threatened to take it. Like, there's not mandatory vaccination right now, though maybe there should be. Second of all, for a disease so deadly, you have to be tested to know you have it. There's like a 2-week incubation period, or at least up to a 2-week incubation period for COVID. So that's why. It doesn't hit you with symptoms up to 2 weeks from when you get it. So you have 2-week period where you're spreading it. Okay? You can also be someone who was asymptomatic, so it can be good to know. Jesus
There's nothing
Christ.
funny about the tools of capitalism.
The Ender92 with 20 bits. Also, they test for cancer. They test for cancer. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, because cancer can be... You don't necessarily feel symptoms right away. I get the comparison you're making. Fair enough. Oh, Jesus. This is from the subreddit QAnon Casualties, which is a good subreddit deal if you're someone who has, like, QAnon believers in your family and you need, like, a support group to deal with, like, how do you deal with someone who's this out of touch with reality? Anyway, here's a post from them. They say, my aunt who was ultra QAnon shot herself earlier today. She left a note saying she was terrified the cabal was coming for her and her kids because of Trump's loss. I swear to God, if I ever see Jim Watkins, I'll tear him apart with my bare hands. How many poor people can they hurt like this? Jim Watkins, if you don't know, is the owner of 8kun, and is believed to be the current QAnon. Him and his son are supposedly the ones who are posting under the QAnon trip code as of today. Yeah. You can't take advantage, you know, of people who are prone to that sort of delusion. It ends in tragedy all the time. It's not okay.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Thank you to Dave30 for following. I concede nothing. Yikes.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
And now we're all caught up on the manga cope. MMO addicted with 20 bits. Also, many actually decent lefty Poles and Ukrainians are deeply alienated by the US leftists' embrace of the label communist, since especially in the Ukraine after the forced famine, willingly labeling yourself communist is like willingly labeling yourself a Nazi and standing with a regime which caused a lot of death. It's hard to separate the general idea from its implementation by a heavy authoritarian dictatorship when your family was directly affected by it. Yeah, I agree. I don't understand anyone who calls themselves like a communist. I don't get it. I don't get it. Seems, I don't know. There's, and I understand that there are people out there who are like very into like Marx's ideas, but I think focusing on stuff like that is missing everything we learned through the rest of the 20th century about the implementation of communism and labor movements in general as they were implemented in the USSR, right? We saw what happened when I think I watched a video with Thought Slime and Lance from the Surfs talking about this the other day too, where like when the working class tries to take the levers of power from capitalists, and they do so just by putting themselves in the same positions of power without actually reforming the system, but they just become the system, how it can end in a worse off situation for everyone. You end up in stuff like Stalinist Russia, right? Which is a nightmare, right? So, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand not learning anything that we learned after the USSR. Very strange. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. I'll always love how dumb fuck cop worshipping conservatives use the Punisher for their Twitter AVIs, not understanding the irony of it. You know, the Punisher doesn't like that shit either. Anyway, so that's the manga cope for today.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Devious Chillster with 20 bits. I agree quite a lot, but I also think there's this thing where a lot of people are calling themselves communists, partly because, well, literally anything right of the status quo at this point is considered communist. So there's this big thing of, if we're going to be called communists, why not own it like socialism and the like. I'm frustrated with that too. specifically because it also dilutes the meaning of these terms, and Americans already don't understand what these words mean. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of trying to take the word, like, communism and trying to apply it to, like, general labor movement stuff. It's not good for a multitude of pragmatic reasons, along with just being inaccurate anyway. MMO addicted with 20 bits. Yeah, but that's only in the US, not in the rest of the world. Y'all are the special ones. Yeah, we sure are. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick because this is interesting, right? YouTube will remove any new videos alleging Trump lost the election because of fraud. So we've seen on Chud Watch especially a huge influx of these videos from people like Tim Pool, people like Dave Rubin, people like Steven Crowder, people like Styx, who are all coming out here and pushing this unfounded narrative of voter fraud. Of course, there's been zero evidence of voter fraud. It's been smacked down in tons of courts. 40 lawsuits have been smacked down. The Supreme Court just denied to hear a thing from Pennsylvania. It's a whole nonsense bullshit grift at this point. These people are trying to make money off the narrative that Donald Trump won the election somehow. Anyway, YouTube's finally cracking down on that stuff, so let's take a look at this article about it. First, though, MMO addicted to 20 bits? Yeah, but that's... Oh, already read that one. Mitchell Drummer with 20 bits. Hannah, does John Doyle still have the election fraud video up? Can we report it and get it taken down because of the new rules? You probably could. I think his video is still up. I'm not gonna, you know, send you there to do that, but you probably could if you went to his channel. But... Anyway, continuing this. YouTube will remove any new videos alleging that President Donald Trump lost the U.S. 2020 election to Joseph Biden because of fraud or errors. Google's massive video site said Wednesday on its YouTube blog, essentially, YouTube now categorizes Biden's victory and Trump's loss as a historical fact, and so it will crack down on new misleading videos alleging otherwise. YouTube noted that its policies already prohibit videos alleging that fraud or errors changed the outcome of the historical U.S. presidential election, but, quote, in some cases, that has meant allowing controversial views on the outcome of process of counting votes of a current election, as election officials have worked to finalize counts. Now that enough states have certified the results to determine Biden as president-elect, YouTube will remove any piece of content uploaded Wednesday or afterward that misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Any videos uploaded before Wednesday are going to remain up, even if they make the same claims that Trump lost and Biden won due to fraud or errors. So no, you couldn't get, like, John Doyle's video removed. Which is fine. I understand that policy. They're saying, moving forward, videos that are of this ilk will not be allowed on the site. Fine. The policy announcement from YouTube comes the day after the safe harbor deadline, when all challenges to an election at the state level are traditionally expected to be finished, a milestone that adds credence to the results of the election are beyond dispute. YouTube and social networks Facebook and Twitter have all wrestled with election misinformation in the U.S.'s highly contested election. The company's policies draw controversy not only for what they allow and what they remove, but also for the platform's ability or lack thereof to adequately enforce the rules they set. Google CEO Sundar Pichai, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, I'm not familiar, was hauled in front of Congress twice in the last 4 months ahead of the election, each time being upbraided for the perceived failures in YouTube leaves up and bias in what it takes down. This is an interesting concept, too, because we're talking about stuff like YouTube. The algorithm is tailored in such a way to keep people watching. They want people to be on the site as long as possible. They want them to be engaged in the content. And that same algorithm, like, we see this in the conspiracy theory videos that we've watched on Tinfoil Tuesday. That is partially a result, and I would argue, like, when Flat Earth got really popular, it's waning in its popularity. It was certainly a fad. But, like, when Flat Earth got really popular, that was a result of the YouTube algorithm doing what it does best, and that's delivering people content that is more of what they're already watching, but more extreme, right? Because if you get, like, people in on a little conspiracy theory, like, I don't know, a JFK conspiracy, or, I don't know, something something silly like Bigfoot videos or whatever, and then you keep going down that path of like more and more engaging content, and as it turns out, outrage and ridiculousness are engaging, you end up with a snowball that ends with people believing the earth is flat, which then also leads to the sort of magical thinking that allows QAnon to fester as a political conspiracy theory that's damaging to the foundations of the confidence we have in our election processes. So it's interesting, and it is a problem YouTube and all the other social media sites need to address, because it's causing real problems. Did I miss a thing? Tucker White 94 20 bits. As funny as the MAGA Chuds hissy fit over this will be, I'm not a fan of YouTube doing this as a free speech absolutist. YouTube shouldn't have the right to do this, especially given that sites like YouTube and Twitter are largely where much of public discourse happens at now. I'm not sure I agree with you. I would agree if they somehow enshrined in law and made sure that this was all handled equitably, right? If they said, okay, Twitter and YouTube, we have a new classification for you. You can be private businesses, but you're also public platforms, and you need to treat that as such. I would kind of understand. But also, they're not. They're private businesses, and they can kind of remove whatever they want, and until we change that in the law, which we could, like, that's certainly a discussion to have, until then, this is what we have. And I also, free speech absolutist, I don't know if I agree that anyone's ever a free speech absolutist, right? Even in the United States, like, there are conditions under which free speech is limited. You can't commit fraud, right? If you, like, go out to someone and say, hey, you want to buy that bridge? I'll sell it to you, and you don't own the bridge. You can't do that. That's fraud. You're lying to that person to make money. You can't slander people or commit libel, right? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. We already have restrictions on free speech. And I agree. I'm in favor of an unironic marketplace of ideas. But when you bring in, like, the how do I put this? The paradox of tolerance, in which if you allow intolerance to flourish, it will snuff out tolerance overall. How do you deal with that? And that's something I think you need to take into account when we're dealing with stuff like this. Like, if people are literally advocating for, like, sedition, basically, on the internet, is it not reasonable to remove these? Because people are not reasonable, right? Like, if people weren't able to be swayed by dangerous rhetoric, the Nazis would have never risen to power. I don't know. I think it's a complicated question, and I'm not saying I have a definite answer, but I also understand and believe that there are some times when you need to be like, no, we're not giving a platform to this stuff. The company also said it's changing its informational panel for the US presidential election results, which are fact-check boxes that show up at the top of some of YouTube's search results and below some videos. Yeah, we see this, for instance, in Styx's videos when he talks about the election. The panel will continue to include a link to Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and explain that the states certify results after ensuring ballots are properly counted and correcting irregularities and errors. In addition, YouTube released some statistics about its enforcement and other actions so far related to the election. Those election results information panels showed up beneath more than 200,000 election-related videos, the company said, adding that the panels were shown more than 4.5 billion times since Election Day. Fact-check information panels show up over YouTube search results more than 200,000 times, including for voter fraud-related queries such as Dominion voting machines and Michigan recount. YouTube said it has terminated more than 8,000 channels and thousands of harmful and misleading election-related videos since September. It said that 77% of those removed videos were taken down before they hit 100 views. It says more than 70% of video recommendations on election-related topics directed people to news sources that YouTube deems authoritative. It said that top 10 authoritative news channels were recommended more than 14 times more than the top 10 non-authoritative channels on election-related material. Yeah, I don't know. I understand the concern. I really do, because I don't want YouTube to necessarily be the arbiter of what is okay or not okay. But it's a little bit like, what's the saying about pornography? I can't necessarily define it, but I know it when I see it, right? I can't define what is and is not something that deserves to not have a platform, but I know it when I see it. And actively undermining the democratic results of an election to try and undermine American democracy, that seems like it to me. But hey, I could be wrong. I'm sure my opinion on this will evolve as time goes on, but
about the tools of capitalism.
that's how I feel about it now. Thrash Mio with 20 bits. Where's everyone lining up to protest content creators being able to remove disabled comments like a lot of conspiracies and woo-woo videos do? Where does the free censorship wall line? Government, business, consumers? Right. That's what I'm saying too. Like on my channel, people leave like transphobic comments or comments I'm fine with comments that are, you know, just disagreeing with me. That's fine. But like if someone's like an asshole and they like, you know, say like, oh, you're ugly, you're fat, yada, yada, yada. I remove those things because I don't think they're productive for the conversation.
Right,
do I not have the right to do that because it's like a platform that I'm using? Do I not have the right to do it because it's my channel? It's just, we're always trying to draw these lines in society, and it's hard to do, but... Hasula, thank you for following. YouTube already is the arbiter, though. Cat's out of the bag there. Yeah. And if we want to set up guidelines, if we want to set up guidelines that apply to every company like YouTube and every social media site evenly, I'm in favor of that depending on what those rules are. Like to ensure that people aren't being disenfranchised in some way to get their views out there. Because I understand, I agree, places like YouTube are a huge part of public discourse. They basically are the public square nowadays. Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and all these things. I understand that even though they're private entities, we all use them as if they're not, right? So I understand the need to have our laws evolve to represent that, but they don't right now. So until they do, this is the toolbox we have to try and stop dangerous shit, you know, hate speech, speech that points towards radicalizing people. Like, I don't know. So, let me know when they actually start, you know, writing laws that will be treated equally amongst all the platforms, and I will get on board, provided that it's reasonable. Until then, though, yeah, YouTube has to be the arbiter. What else are they going to do? Thrash Mio. Where's that? Oh, no, I already read that one. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. This is why I argue sites like YouTube, Twitter, and other social media sites should be federalized, thus the rules in TOS mirror existing federal and possible state laws. I don't even... I understand the thought, but I cannot imagine the federal government ever seizing private companies like that. Can you imagine the fucking uproar? Like, the US government is so pro-business, they would never, ever seize... They would never seize a company and be like, YouTube is owned by the government now. They're not going to do it. They won't do it because of the precedent it sets. Because then who stops the next president from being like, oh, oil industries, you're federalized. Oh, you know, I don't know, any other tech industry, Apple, you're federalized. You know what I mean? I just don't see it happening. Doom Smoothie with 20 bits. Just a reminder, everyone, the YouTube walkout is tomorrow, December 10th to December 13th. Please participate to support content creators by not going to the website. Okay. Harry K5 with 20 bits. Why not designate Google, Facebook, etc. as something akin to telephone or cable companies? Maybe. Sure. Because it's still, like... Sure. It's still illegal to, like, conspire to do, like, terroristic acts on... the phone, you know what I mean? So, sure, I could see that. And then just make sure you're getting rid of content and stuff like that. 74 Quinn, 74, 20 bits. Did you hear today about the government suing Facebook for being a monopoly? That's interesting. I don't know how legitimate that is. Just because, you know, there are other social media sites, but yeah, Facebook's shitty, so I'm not gonna shed a tear for them. Have any of the YouTube blackouts ever done anything? No. No, they haven't. Alright, let me turn this music off. Okay, so we just read an article about YouTube cracking down on these election conspiracy theory videos. Basically, if you're making new videos that are saying things like, oh, Biden, cheated, or Trump was cheated by having the election stolen, or any other nonsense like that that's completely unfounded, those videos are going to get removed and you potentially could get a strike. Styx is very mad about this, I would imagine, because like 80% of his videos in the past month have been about that. So this will be interesting to watch. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Speaking of another tale from glorious Poland, the government-owned oil company is buying out all independent news outlets they can, as many left-leaning as they can, under the pretext of Polonizing them and turning them into a propaganda tube. They basically own 98% of local news portals or newspapers, and a lot of regional ones, with only some national-level publications holding out. Yikes, that sounds like a nightmare. Is Styx gonna use magic? Yeah, he dressed up. He's not wearing the bathrobe. Good for him.
Alright everyone, it's time for arguably the most important video that I've ever actually made. If you're watching this on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment. There will be links in the description as well. I'm going to limit it at the moment just to the important ones, which are the other sites that I make videos on. Dailymotion, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute. And the reason for that is pretty clear. As you've seen, if you follow Jack Posobiec and a few others, this came across literally this afternoon. I'm going to read part of this verbatim because it's the most disrespectful, insane thing that YouTube has ever done.
YouTube's done some pretty crazy shit. I don't know about that one. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. When was the last time I typed something including the word Poland and it wasn't a nightmare? Fair enough.
And YouTube's gone through 3 iterations of Adpocalypse at this point, so take that to the bank that it's actually meaningful. I'm going to go through this though. This is a post.
I wish I could have hair as healthy and beautiful as Styx. Like, can I take that from him? Is that something that the universe will allow me to have?
Archived, of course, so that you don't have to, give him a click or whatever. Supporting the 2020 U.S. election by the YouTube team. This is on their official blog. Updates to our work supporting the integrity of the 2020 U.S. election. Let me read some of this. Over the past weeks and months, we've seen people coming to YouTube to learn more about where you and how to vote, or learning more about a candidate or an issue. We've seen news organizations grow their audience, the MSM in other words. And we've seen people turn to YouTube for the latest election results, or...
I don't even know if it is necessarily like like my YouTube account, and I swear, I'm not making this up. I could show you my analytics, although I think I'm not supposed to for YouTube TOS, so I won't do it. But you could like look at my Social Blade and see this. Like over the last month of election stuff, who I guess you could argue is sort of independent, I would say independent news commentary, similar to a lot of other people on Twitch, or independent, whatever, political commentary. My channel on YouTube doubled in the last month. It went from like 3,000 to 7,000, which isn't huge, but nonetheless, interest in election stuff has been high. So even for like independent news sources, independent news commentary, independent political commentary, like there's been a little bit of a nice bump, right? So the idea that it's all mainstream media sources that are getting that bump, that's completely untrue, at least in my experience. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. That's an interesting catch-22. Government-controlled media tends to simp for those in power, while corporate-controlled media simps for the interest of the unfettered capitalism. So what's worse, the Washington Post that's controlled by Jeff Bezos, or PBS? Yeah, I think that's why independent media is a pretty good thing to have. Like, I'm not even just, of course I'm going to say that because I talk about political commentary all the time, but I do think it's a good thing, right? The idea that we can have individual people providing, I don't know, different information, but that's more political commentary, not necessarily news. News is complicated. It's hard to do news in a way that is both accurate and feels unbiased, right? Because everyone inherently has some sort of bias in the way you're going to choose to cover news stories. It's going to be reflective of that bias. Even, like the AP is one of the least biased news sources ever. And even so, they still have to choose how they're writing their copy, so it's tough. Harry K5 says, when was the last time modern Poland isn't a nightmare? I would say the workers' protest of '89. Not familiar. Sorry.
Simply to follow an historic event with the highest voting turnout in over a century in the U.S. Our main goal, going into the election season, was to make sure we're connecting people with authoritative information. So CNN and Fox, basically, you know, these groups that call one another...
Fox is a right-wing news source. You just literally cited a liberal news source and a conservative news source. You're already talking about two different sides of the spectrum. By the way, is this video loud enough that y'all can hear it? Is this okay?
Their propaganda every fucking goddamn day until independent commentators climb aboard. Then all of a sudden they're on the same side, so fucking keep that in mind. While also limiting the reach of misinformation and removing harmful content. Yeah, that means shadow banning people like me.
Styx, you're probably shadow banned, but the reason that you're shadow banned is because you're a fascist and like advocate for borderline ethno-nationalist policies. We've watched those videos before from your occultism series on, I think, Tinfoil Tuesday. That's why you're shadow banned, not because you're conservative, because you're not really conservative. You're fashy. People don't like fascists, as it turns out.
Because we're wrong think. See, we don't do the newspeak thing anymore, so YouTube hates YouTubers and wants corporations to spread their information, that multi-billionaires like them. The work here is ongoing, and we wanted to provide an update, removing content that violates our policies. Our community guidelines prohibit spam, scams, or other manipulated media, coordinated influence operations, and any content that seeks to incite violence. None of which 99.9% of content creators do. Just
okay, I think this is a little dishonest in the sense that I understand what you're saying. A lot of the content, for instance, Tim Pool or Styx content that's relating to the election and claiming that they believe there's election fraud, again, none of that is evidenced at this point, as is seen by all of the cases being thrown out of court. They're not directly necessarily on videos like this calling for violence, which they shouldn't, because if they did, they'd rightfully have their channels removed. However, it is a pipeline to lead people to believe that that is the last resort. If you peek your head in on Parler, which I'm not going to do on stream, but you can do this yourself, and you can go look. There are also subreddits like Parler Watch that take a look at those places. There are tons of places and people who are being radicalized by the type of content that Dave Rubin and Styx and people like that are posting, or One America News when they're posting things like, oh, there's widespread election fraud, the election's being stolen. They're basically, without evidence, riling up a base and trying to get them locked in gear for some sort of sedition, right? Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's the same reason I think you probably couldn't make like a, I don't know, like a Holocaust denialism documentary on YouTube. Like, there's this thing. It is the free marketplace of ideas, and there are some ideas that we've all just said, nope, fuck that. Fascism is one of them. And trying to undermine a democratic election because you're mad that you lost, that's another one. That's how it works.
So we're, aware of this. Since September, we've terminated over 8,000 channels and thousands...
Colossus TV, defeating the web of lies, the socialist spin, using the foolproof practice of wrong speak.
...of harmful and misleading elections-related videos for violating our existing policies. Over 70...
Yeah, and the plandemic video, stuff like that. Misinformation can get removed by YouTube. As it should, I think, at least under the rules we have currently. Tucker White 94, 20 bits whispers, Styx, the camera's in front of you, why are you looking off to the side? It's very distracting.
7%.
He's reading from a monitor or something.
Of the...
Which I understand. You can't, I understand.
These removed videos were taken down before they...
I wonder how much a teleprompter is. Cheap teleprompter. How to make your own iPad teleprompter for $20. Oh, nice. What's this? Oh. I should get a teleprompter. I have absolutely no reason for one. I don't read things that often, and when I do, it's on the screen right here.
They had 100 views. Sounds bot related, but we'll get past it. We also work to make sure that the line between what is removed and what is allowed is drawn in the right place. Well, no, you're not. YouTube used to be like bum fights and Tourette's guy. Now it's, I don't know, Barney and Friends or something. Our policies prohibit misleading viewers about where and how to vote. We also disallow content alleging widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of a historical U.S. presidential election. Now, I'm going to stop you right there for a second, have a mini rant. What about the Russian elections, or the UK elections, or the next French elections?
That's not what they're talking about, Styx. They're talking about the U.S. elections. So I don't even know why you're bringing this up. It's a slippery slope argument. But that's not what we're doing. Styx, the United States election that we just had is not the Russian election. It's not whatever other election. We're talking about this election. And there's a concerted effort by you and people like you to try and delegitimize the results of an election that we have no evidence was anything but legitimate. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with pointing out actual, election irregularities when they come up. Even if they came up in this election in one or two places. But that's not what you're doing. You're trying to say that the entire election is fake. And that's dangerous and seditious. YouTube doesn't want to be... How do I put this? YouTube doesn't want to be liable for shit like that. And under Section 230, if I forget specifically what law, yeah, places like YouTube and Facebook aren't necessarily liable for stuff like that, but it doesn't mean they haven't been sued for it in the past. For instance, look at the Sandy Hook families that ended up suing not only Alex Jones for his baseless claims that they were crisis actors and that Sandy Hook didn't actually happen, but they also sued YouTube. So people like you become a liability for YouTube as a platform, and they don't want that to be the case. They don't want all these news stories making them look bad about wow, people are being radicalized on YouTube by all these right-wing fanatics who think that the election was stolen with no evidence. They don't want that. They're a private entity, and until such a time as we change laws to make it in some way that, I don't know, they're more considered public platforms, which isn't the case right now, then it's within their rights to do these things. Harry K5 with 20 bits. I would love it if the Biden campaign sues the Trump lawyers for libel. They don't have the backbone for it, sadly. Yeah, I was gonna say they can't sue for stuff that's alleged in legal documents, but they've been saying stuff outside of legal documents, so I could see it, but I don't think they will. They don't have... Biden is still on the whole, oh, we need to reach across the aisle bullshit train. The thing that, apparently Democrats haven't learned from the past 20 years doesn't work. He's still trying to do that, so I doubt he'll actually sue them or anything like that.
Or any other elections in the world. Can I question the next Rwandan elections? Is that going to be possible? What if it's historic? What if there's a woman on the ticket or something? I guess this is only for one specific election, and let me tell you something.
I would imagine it would be lying about any election, which is what you've been doing. Fun enough. MMO addicted with 20 bets anyways. Playing D&D, so going out of chat. Have fun, folks. I'll keep you all in the background. All right, enjoy your D&D.
And I'm not alleging any fraud here because it's not allowed anymore. Can I ask something? When...
Chest burster in a can. Yeah, we used to be edgy fucks. We were shitty. I know.
Multi-billionaires are trying to tell you what political things you can and cannot talk about. Don't you think that might be problematic? Because I've got a pitch here. I think that when multi-billionaires working with multi-billion-dollar corporations, for-profit multinationals, are trying to limit what you can say, that's the time to say it. Because they're worried for a reason, presumably. And it's probably not for benevolent reasons.
They're worried because you're lying on their platform and helping radicalize an already pre-radical Trump base. That's why.
But we'll get past that as well. We're going to have to get past a lot of stupidity in this particular post. We also disallow... no, we went press... blah, blah, blah. However, in some cases, this has meant allowing controversial views on the outcome or process of counting votes of a current election as election officials have worked to finalize counts. Again, stopping you right there, there is a current SCOTUS case involved with not election fraud, but the constitutionality of mail-in votes. I would think that that's significant, but apparently YouTube...
I believe he's referencing the Texas lawsuit, but SCOTUS hasn't actually taken that up yet. I don't think they're going to either. Like, they could, I guess, but it's already on the
That's
docket.
right,
But what I mean
propaganda.
by that is they haven't decided they're going to take it yet. It means in the next, like, week or so, they're going to decide whether to take the case or not. And based on the Pennsylvania case that they decided, like, unanimously, hey, no, we're not going to hear this. This is bullshit. I'm assuming something similar will happen with this Texas lawsuit, but who knows?
YouTube disagrees. Again, billionaires interfering arguably with an election when you have an ongoing SCOTUS case. The
Roxer's
Supreme
Boxer,
Court of the
thank you
United
for
States
following.
is currently deciding the election in that fact.
No, they're not. Again, Styx is acting like this is already, like... It's like he thinks there's already verbal arguments going on. No, that's not what's happening, Styx. The election has already been certified. They're gonna go and meet on the 14th, the Electoral College, and it's all gonna happen. I can't believe that even after all this time, he's still in such hard denial. It is bonkers.
There are a significant number of states currently signed on to a lawsuit initially enjoined by Texas 2 days ago in order to non-certify the results of other states.
Which is incredibly stupid and not going to go anywhere, because the elections are run by the individual states. Texas, in that lawsuit, for those of you who aren't familiar, is basically saying, well, it's not fair that Pennsylvania had mail-in ballots and let people go and vote that way so easily, because that's not equitable to the way we run our elections, which are, you know, harder to vote in, so we need to throw out all these mail-in votes. It's very, very stupid. It's an incredibly stupid lawsuit, which even if it went through, would probably be terrible for Republicans, because setting the precedent that one state can sue another state over how their elections are run would mean that Democratic states with a bunch of money, like California, could start suing red states for their voter suppression techniques, which would be bad for Republicans. So I'm not even sure why they would be short-sighted enough to try and get that through, but, you know, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, I guess. Skooma Addict, thank you for subscribing with a 2-month streak.
While it is unlikely that this actually happens, this is not settled law. And for YouTube to pretend
nothing
that it's
funny
settled
about the
law
tools of
is
capitalism.
deeply disrespectful to the community that talks about politics. It is deeply and terrifyingly dangerous to allow multi-billionaires to
Mitchell
influence
Drummer, new
political
stream
speech
boss,
in this manner.
nice.
Sadly, there are lemmings out there that will actually support it. Well, thank goodness that they're shutting down these evil conspiracy theorists. You are goddamn so brainwashed, I don't even know what to say anymore. You're certainly not liberals.
I'm not a liberal. I'm a leftist, so thanks, Styx. Appreciate it.
Maybe might be leftists.
Yeah, you got it. Hey.
Hell, some of you are probably rhinocons. 100% of you are stupid, though. Yesterday was the...
Biting commentary. You're not gonna let me say baseless conspiracy theories on the internet. Well, guess what? You're stupid.
safe harbor deadline for the U.S. presidential election, and enough states have certified their election results to determine a president-elect.
There's nothing
Given
funny
that,
about
we
the
will start
tools of
removing any
capitalism.
piece of content uploaded today or any time after.
Dr. Gamble with 20 bits says the man who believes in the Necronomicon. He does believe in magic, doesn't he? Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. BT dubs. It should be noted that
There's nothing
Texas, the
funny
state
about
running the
tools of
farcical
capitalism.
lawsuit, also has certified its election results. So that tells me it'll go before the court and say that's not actually any fraud, right? I don't even understand what their thought is with that one.
That misleads people.
Apparently the AG that, this is entirely speculation. The AG in Texas that started this lawsuit is apparently under investigation for some felony shit. So some people have speculated that he's trying to fish for a pardon from Trump. Again, that's just speculation.
Misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election in line with our approach towards historical U.S. presidential elections. Has YouTube banned a single user or removed a single video alleging that any prior election was problematic? If I question Bush v. Gore, 2000, the Florida election, the Supreme Court weighed in. They determined that George W. Bush won the state, giving him the election. We found out months later that Gore won the state in the popular vote and technically speaking should have been president. If I question this, if I make a video saying Bush v. Gore was a bullshit fest, The Florida Supreme Court were cunts. They were full of fucking shit. Is YouTube gonna ban me?
I doubt it, because you're literally commenting accurately on a historical event, right? You're not denying that George W. Bush actually won the election in the sense that he became president. What you're doing is commenting on the actual process that took place and disagreeing with it, right? But what people like you have been doing is spreading baseless conspiracy theories of election fraud with no evidence. That's the difference. Do you understand the difference? One of them is you accurately assessing or at least discussing and commenting on things that happened, whereas with this, you aren't. You're making up controversy for clicks, for clout, and because you don't like the fact that Donald Trump lost. That would be the difference.
Of course not.
Tucker White 94, that's good whataboutism. It sure is.
Why? Because they like Beijing Biden. That's why. They like Beijing Biden. They like his globalistic policies because they're a multinational corporation with many, many hundreds of billions of dollars in assets. And that's really why. Not YouTube, but Google is the parent company.
Oh, I just say you because I like to... I guess that I haven't thought about it. I just talk to the video like they're here. No, Styx is not in chat. That's just how I talk.
And Alphabet is theirs. YouTube, no, most people don't even know they're a third-tier subsidiary of Google and or Alphabet.
I'm pretty sure most people know YouTube is owned by Google. It's been owned by Google since like 2006 or 2007, I think. Colossus TV with 20 bits. This is like when someone susses me for being an imposter in the last game. Yeah, I may have done it, but the last game isn't this game.
That's the funny part. They're not going to do any jack shit. Unless it's this particular election. They won't. If I say that Putin didn't win the last election, people actually hate his fucking guts. And he lost against, you know, whatever opponent he had to assassinate this time. YouTube's not going to ban me. If I say, hey...
Yeah, you're literally listing scenarios that are nothing like the U.S. election, and then asking why it doesn't apply to the U.S. election. Because they're completely different things. That's why.
Hey, the Rwandan election might have been flawed. The Libyan election was bullshit. The UK election was false. Nobody's gonna do jack shit, only for this particular one. Now isn't that very, very interesting, everybody? Billionaires, again, telling you what you can and cannot talk about and think. By the way, just as an aside, why can't I just fucking talk about it on another platform?
You can. I'm sure you will on BitChute. Go do that. As long as people don't have to fucking listen to your bullshit, it's fine.
Cares? At this point, it's almost like, you know, who cares about YouTube? Then, as far as I know, I looked into the TOS. That doesn't appear to have changed. This is just a blog post. They're going to remove videos outside of their own TOS at this point. So, you know...
I'm pretty sure within YouTube's TOS, they have a stipulation, as all companies basically do at this point, that says, we can terminate your account or do anything to your channel for literally any reason. So if they make a blog post saying this is a new policy, that's the policy. That's how it works.
Basically, good luck. Fucking kiss your ass goodbye. They're just gonna purge everyone that they don't like. It's horseshit. Yeah, we'll go through this. Yeah. For example, we will remove videos claiming that a presidential candidate won the election due to widespread software glitches. Why? Who cares?
People who care about the truth and not spreading lies care. Again, you're making baseless, slanderous claims about multiple companies involved in these voting machines, which I think the company that owns the Dominion voting systems that all these people have such a hate boner for, they're already suing Sidney Powell, I guess, because they've been getting, like, threats and stuff because of her bullshit nonsense. Not only that, but you're basically accusing the entire DNC, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, everyone involved in that, in felonies? You can't just go around claiming people have broken laws like this and think it's just in free speech, right? We have slander laws specifically for these reasons.
Or counting errors. Again, why? We will begin enforcing this policy today, and we will ramp it out in the weeks to come. Now, another thing, I didn't see this blog post. Somehow I didn't get the email. So were you just not going to tell people in hopes that they'd keep making those videos so that you'd have a reason to ban them?
That's pretty conspiratorial. Just because you don't get every little newsletter that YouTube doesn't mean that they're intentionally targeting you. And out of all the people to target, it wouldn't be you, Styx. Dave Rubin already got this email too. Dave Rubin talked about getting an email from YouTube. He probably got an email specifically because he's bigger. I don't even know if YouTube knows you exist. Like, you have 400-something thousand subscribers. It's not nothing, don't get me wrong. But Styx isn't big enough that I think YouTube takes particular note of him. I don't know if he would have been on the email list for something like this. Probably people who have, like, 1 million subscribers or up. People like Dave Rubin. People like Tim Pool. They probably got specific emails. Below that threshold, though, no. They're just going to apply the policy.
I think so, but people following Jack Posobiec or who haven't...
I wonder if this video falls into this, because this is a new video where he's basically saying he thinks the election is fraudulent, but I'm not saying it is. I'm just curious how YouTube would rule on this.
Enough subscribers to actually tip them off like I do. We're safe. What about all the smaller users? They might accidentally upload a video where they non-satirically chastise the election.
Sure. Just like any other thing. If you're like a small-time YouTuber and you make like a video claiming that, I don't know, the Holocaust didn't happen or some other nonsense conspiracy theory, even if you don't know the policy, yeah, they'll remove you. That's how YouTube works. Like, what? Are you claiming that because someone might be ignorant of a policy that policy shouldn't apply to them? That's not how anything works. Tucker White 94, well, Styx has sold me. I should get to say whatever I want and suffer no punishment for it. I'll say it right now. Hey, did you know Hannah once stole gold from Fort Knox and killed the Martians that guard the vault? That's true. I actually killed them with the gold. It's like their kryptonite, which is weird why they had them guarding it.
By the way, what if I make a video saying, hey, there sure weren't no election fraud. I sure am happy about them election results.
Again, you're describing, it would be a weird video, but, like, you're describing someone just talking about the election in a way that isn't slanderous, that isn't a lie, right? It's weird to be like, boy, I sure do, like, whatever bullshit straw man you're constructing, but yeah, you're allowed to talk about the election accurately.
Yep, Joe Biden done won in a fair and square match. There weren't no 6,000 votes changed in a Michigan voting machine up in Wayne County. What if I make a video like that that's clearly sarcastic? Am I still gonna get banned? I guess time will tell. By the way, if YouTube...
That's how most policies get applied. Again, I don't remember if it was in this segment or an earlier segment today, but I said there was a court case. I think it was a Supreme Court case. I don't remember which justice said it, but something along the lines of, I don't know how to define porn, but I know it when I see it. I imagine it'll be up to whoever is in charge of that stuff for YouTube to make those determinations.
Wants to silence me, they're gonna have to ban me. Fuck you. I'm not gonna be silent. Fuck yourself. Yeah, people should definitely be following me. Again, link in the description on one of those other 4 sites because they actually give a shit about free speech. It's pretty sad when a French site named Dailymotion has more respect for free speech among US users than YouTube does, which is actually based in California. By the way,
Dailymotion is pretty lax in general. Like, I'll put it this way. If I want to find a TV show that's obscure and old, that is still under copyright, but, like, maybe I want to find it. I'll give you an example. Freddy's Nightmares, which was a TV show in the 80s that I can't find a copy of. I don't know if they ever actually ended up selling that on DVD or what. Hold on. Freddy's Nightmares. So Freddy's Nightmares was a TV show in the 80s. It was an anthology horror TV show, sort of similar to Tales from the Crypt, but the host was Robert Englund reprising his role as Freddy Krueger. So every episode would start with Freddy given a little thing, sort of like the Crypt Keeper and Tales from the Crypt, and it would end with the same thing. Some of the episodes were straight-up Freddy Krueger episodes, so if you're a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and you want to see some more Nightmare on Elm Street content that you didn't know existed, check it out. Anyway, I haven't been able to find this. Oh, maybe it is on Amazon now. Cool. Maybe I'll have to pick it up at some point. Anyway, for a while, it wasn't available on home media, at least not to me. It was just all posted on Dailymotion. Dailymotion is pretty lax with copyright and all sorts of policies. It doesn't necessarily make Dailymotion in the right. Okay? That's my tangent about Freddy's nightmares, because when am I gonna get to talk about that?
Do realize that something like, 46% of the U.S. public believes that the election was rigged? You do realize that that's about half of your U.S. YouTube user base. Now, if you don't want to be the main U.S. video site, you can just tell us.
The tools of capitalism.
YouTube's not going to be unseated as the #1 video site for a while. I'm not saying it'll never happen. Every big company eventually gets usurped in some way, shape, or form. But currently, with the things the way they are, with laws the way they are, I don't think that's happening. Because YouTube doesn't even really make money. They barely break even, as far as I understand, because it costs an astronomical amount of money to host the number of videos that are uploaded to YouTube. Harry K5 with 20 bits copyright as it is used now kind of sucks in general. Hey, I'd agree with you, but the law is what it is right now, and that's what we're talking about. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Alright, Styx has strained credulity for me. Nobody uses Dailymotion with its garbage video player. True.
You want to rest on your laurels, retract yourself into history, and somebody else can take control. Now, Rumble, BitChute, whatever.
BitChute is not going to get more popular than YouTube. It'll probably keep going for quite a while. I'm not saying it's going to disappear tomorrow, but, like, it's not going to be as popular as YouTube. Because if you've ever looked at BitChute, and I feel like it's dangerous of me to go on the BitChute homepage, you know, here on Twitch, but it's full of conspiracy theories and literal Nazis. And I don't mean Nazi, like, oh, they're, you know, I just think they're fashy. I mean literal Holocaust-denying Nazis. We looked at he called himself, what did he call himself? It was Comrade something, I think, which is weird because I typically associate that with communism. But he was literally in front of, like, a Nazi flag. Commandant, that's what it was. It wasn't Comrade. You're right. It was Commandant. Literal Nazi in a Nazi uniform espousing Nazi ideology. So, like, that kind of thing exists on BitChute, and I don't think it's going to get popular specifically because that's a huge part of the content, is ridiculous conspiracies and outright Nazis.
You can do that if you want to, but it'd be nice if you'd be honest with us. This is basically a giant fuck you to the entire user base that talks about politics. Almost half of the entire political user base disagrees with the election results.
Okay, but disagreeing with facts, we have a word for that. It's called being wrong. It's called being wrong, and when you're wrong, that's usually okay. But when it comes to something like, again, I'll give an example, Holocaust denial, 9/11 trutherism, anti-vax, these things become dangerous, and once they're like black and white issues like that we know, it's in the company's best interest to stop that bullshit. If anything, they're a little late on this one. You guys should... I had so much more faith in the right than I had any right to, because I thought, oh, this denial of Joe Biden winning the election, it'll last like a week and then they'll move on. But here we are, it's been over a month, and they keep on going. I just cannot believe how much more faith I had in them than is reciprocated by their actions. Like, they're so delusional.
You don't have to allege fraud to say, hey, there were irregularities. That's just the case.
Do you have, again, there isn't evidence of that, Styx, which we've found, which is why all the court cases have been thrown out. What don't you understand?
Case. How stringent, by the way, are these rules going to be? They don't even mention that. As always, news coverage and commentary on these issues can remain on our site if there's sufficient education, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. Oh, educational content. So you mean CNN and NPR and stuff. You're allowed to talk about.
Not necessarily. Like, for instance, I would argue I fall under that. Like, I'm talking about you talking about this, but I'm not advocating for it, right? I'm telling you why you're wrong. For instance, you can make a YouTube video talking about what QAnon believers believe. But if you advocate for said beliefs in such a way that it targets individuals, then it gets removed, right? Educational content is fine. Pushing certain narratives that are unfounded and slanderous by their very nature, not considered okay.
About it. Just make sure that the person that's presenting the issue is a complete dunderhead and is getting completely talked down by the MSM talking head. Just as long as it's Fox or CNN or something. Connecting people to authoritative information. While only a small portion of watch time is election-related content, as a YouTube creator that covered it extensively, I would maybe beg to differ. YouTube continues to be an important source of election news. On average, 88% of the videos in the top 10 search results related to elections came from authoritative news sources. Among the rest are things like Newsy, Late.
Would I debate Styx given the chance? No, I don't like doing debates. It's not for me. I'll have discussions with people, like if Nathan Thompson ever wanted to come on and talk about his flat earth stuff, but obviously I'm going to try and refute what he's saying. But like, I find conversations interesting, but a debate formalized, I don't typically like. I also get really mad, and I act like an asshole, so it's not a good idea for me to do debates.
Night shows, creator videos, and commentary. So you're saying that almost 90% of all election-related view time went to Salon, and Vox, and CNN, and Fox News, and MSNBC, and NBC, and all of these other, and the Young Turks. I remember Cenk was palling around with the CEO of YouTube. So in other words, you've decided to basically screw your entire creative user base.
Again, not really. My channel's been thriving, and I'm a very small channel that does political commentary or whatever you want to call it. So maybe people just don't like you, Styx. Have you considered that? Maybe you've reached peak saturation for weird occultist Nazis.
Can you imagine how damaging this could be to the site? Again, I don't tell this to YouTube because I hate YouTube. I tell this to YouTube because I hate the management that's managing it into the goddamn ground. You're making mistakes, you're doing stupid things, and you're pissing off enormous swaths of your user base because you misinterpret your own statistics and rely too much on bots. You rely too much on the idea that YouTube is major and hegemonic and huge and is basically a monopoly along with other tech firms, and therefore it can never be knocked off its pedestal. I am telling you, as someone who's been on the internet since day one, because it was 1997 when it went public and I was already almost 10 years fucking old, I can tell you, it's happened many, many times before. When's the last time you used Dogpile? When's the last time you used Yahoo, unless it was Yahoo News? In coordination, by the way, on polling, I believe with YouGov, if I remember correctly. Not actually a bad polling firm. When's the last time you logged into your MySpace account? When's the last time that you dig on something, on a post that you saw on the internet?
Those are all websites. How do I put this? The bar for entry is a lot lower, but even so, today it's difficult to do that sort of thing. For instance, let me give you an example. Dig died and was replaced by Reddit in terms of like the closest, analog. So Dig went away and Reddit took its place. Something similar tried to happen at one point some years later, where people were disagreeing with some of Reddit's decisions, so they tried to go to Voat, or it might have been pronounced Vote, but it was spelled like Voat. That failed, specifically because they could not keep up with the server costs, right? So we're in a situation where places like YouTube or even something like Reddit, there's so much traffic that is wanting to go to these places that it's nearly impossible to pay for the server space for all this stuff to run these websites for the traffic you're talking about. I would argue BitChute's only worked so far because so few people are on it. If you go to BitChute and looked at their top rated videos, their top viewed videos in the last month or two or whatever, they're very low views relative to something like YouTube, right? A popular video on BitChute might get 10 to 50 to 100 at most thousand views. That's terrible. I've had videos on Hannah and Jake that get that many views. It's been a long time, but my point is, like, it's not that many people relative to something like YouTube. So, I don't know. I think if BitChute tried to be YouTube and was as big, they'd immediately fail because even with that many users, they wouldn't be able to sustain themselves and their servers. And then there was a thing. Harry K5 with 20 bits. Nazis in the occult is nothing new. I pretty much expected for Styx to be interested in that. Yeah.
And the most viewed channels and videos are from news channels like NBC and CBS. Yeah, that makes me happy. YouTube is literally promoting my competitors. Who else am I competing with?
Styx thinks he's competing with NBC and CBS? Oh, no. Styx, I hate to break it to you, but you're not. You're not. Nor am I. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm not competing with other independent commentators. And, yeah, there's a bunch more bullshit. Never mind. But yeah, there's the blog post. Link in the description, of course, archived. Yeah, you should join me elsewhere. YouTube has really fucked itself this time. And I'm already seeing fallout. It hasn't been that long since I made the post. When something like this happens, the only thing I think that would be on the same order was the first Adpocalypse. Honestly, I think PewDiePie got involved with that one, so keeping that in mind, YouTube has decided to insult its entire user base, and essentially there are people out there crazy enough to think that multi-billionaires working for multinational firms worth hundreds of billions of dollars should be suppressing political commentary.
Again, it's not political commentary. It's outright lies and slander about an election that we know the results of.
They think that's a good idea, and they don't even realize this is a direct and explicit and purposeful antagonism of Congress to try to get 230 removed. I tell you this, I guarantee you this is YouTube's shot across the bow to try to force Congress to get rid of Section 230 so that all of their smaller U.S. competitors immediately go by the wayside.
There's nothing funny about
That's
the
so
tools of
stupid.
capitalism.
If 230 got removed, Styx would be gone from YouTube like that. Because they would then be, for those who don't know, this Section 230 that gets discussed, and Trump has talked about this too, is basically the provision in U.S. law that says you are not largely liable for the things that are posted on your website, right? So someone could try and sue Styx maybe for certain things he's done, but it would be much more difficult to sue YouTube for hosting Styx. Right? Not impossible, but it would be much more difficult. So what happens if you remove 230 is the liability can entirely fall on a big company like YouTube, and if you're going to sue someone over content Styx or anyone else on YouTube makes, you're not going to sue Styx because he doesn't have enough money to pay you a settlement. YouTube does. So then YouTube, having that liability, is going to start removing every single, even tiny controversial person, because they will then be seen as a liability to their bottom line, because they would be. Styx begging for 230 to be removed is like, it's like a pig begging for a butcher. It's a terrible idea. And I don't know why right-wingers are pushing for this shit. Trump in particular, because if 230 got removed, Trump is gone from all social media immediately. Because again, everyone would be suing Twitter for ridiculous, slanderous shit Trump has said. No one wants 230 to be removed who isn't also an idiot. Tucker White 94 20-bit Styx. YouTube's been a dumpster fire for years. Nothing's changed, nothing has killed it, and this won't either. I agree. We would probably have to see a pretty big change in technology and, like, making the cost of entering this field and storing videos. It'd have to be a lot cheaper for another company to come and do it successfully.
They are afraid. They're doing this because they're afraid. Their user base has begun to gravitate towards other sites that are actually picking up steam.
Colossus TV. Styx is further from competing with those news outlets than a runner in the ready position is winning a race.
And they want that money. The political establishment is afraid. They're seeing sites that they co-opt that are donating millions of dollars every year into their campaign cycles. They're seeing them slowly lose market share against foreign firms and against US-based alt-tech firms. And that's why they're doing this. It's all about the Benjamins. That's all it's ever been about. These people don't have any principles. They don't care about free speech. And the idea that US-based firms that declare themselves platforms for legal protection would be explicitly editorializing political content that is legal and in many cases meant to be benevolent is deeply disturbing.
If you commit slander and you claim it's benevolent, it doesn't make it not slander.
If you're not disturbed by this, you are a lemming. You are a coward and a fool. And if you're not speaking out against it, then God bless you for being ignorant. That's about all. Peace out.
The intensity that he goes from right before he stops his videos is always interesting to me. It's always like he crescendos, and then he immediately drops it. It's like he
Nothing funny
climaxes
about
and
the
then
tools
he's
of
immediately like,
capitalism.
okay, stop touching me. You know what I mean? Tucker White 94. Styx. YouTube's not losing market share. The most viewed I could find on BitChute had 4,000 views. That's minuscule by YouTube standards. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Styx. It'll be interesting to see what he shifts his content to in the coming weeks, considering so much of his content over the past month has been about his claims of election fraud. Baseless claims of election fraud. So we'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on him. Okay. Are you guys ready for another installment of What's John Doyle Doing? Pinstripe suit. Interesting choice, John.
President Trump is still fighting back and pushing forward against the mass electoral fraud that we witnessed last month, and I've
Oof. Better watch out, John. You're not allowed to say that on YouTube anymore.
actually heard that we're going to see some pretty cool stuff happen this week. And in case you haven't noticed, the MAGA hat is still on, but the point is that we need to be prepared for the fight going forward as well, like we thought we won in 2016.
The best part of Chud Watch? Yeah, unfortunately.
We nominally had control of the entire federal government, and then
What do you mean nominally? You guys did have control of the federal government.
we were betrayed by fake Republicans. And so to start to prepare
Oh, that's why you didn't get
nothing
all
funny
your
about the
fashy
tools of
fantasies because of Mitt Romney and John McCain. Logarth with 50 bits, John and Styx sitting in a tree, MALDING. All right, that's good.
for the 2022 midterms and solidify ourselves as an authentically conservative party with no room for imposters and no room for liars, we have to start at the tip of the iceberg of modern conservative rhetoric and explain why some of these extremely popular ideas and phrases are not conservative and or do not help us win at all and may in fact be propagated so as to distract us or seduce us into defeat. So we will go over 5 of those right now. Very important. Christmas tie. Do stay tuned.
I hate
Ladies and
his
gentlemen.
intro.
Heck off, commie.
Do you think you actually smoked that cigarette? Or did you just go, people, I've seen the show Mad Men, people in the 50s and the 60s, they smoked. Based on the way he's holding that cigarette, I don't feel like he's a smoker. I could be wrong. Which is good. Don't smoke, John. It's bad for your lungs.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. Can you hear me all right? Is the audio's good? No, I just don't want to inconvenience you. Like,
He's too young to smoke. You're right, actually. That don't you have to be 21 now to buy cigarettes? I thought they changed the law. John Doyle, you've been bad. Breaking the law. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. If you want an authentically conservative party, you need to oust the corporate zombies like Mitch McConnell. Yeah.
I did last time, accidentally, people in the comments be like, it's time to fight back against tyranny. But then you have to use the emergency backup audio from the camera one time, and they're like, well, no, it's hard to listen because the audio's not as clear as it is usually.
Yeah, the last video was pretty insufferable, John. You probably should have refilmed it. But hey, you know, do you?
Kidding. We love the comments, don't we, folks? Sometimes. But anyways, we'll just dive right into these because I'm sure that you've heard them all before, or at least variations of them
nothing
before.
funny about the
And I
tools
do
of
believe that we need to
capitalism.
abandon these things in order to be successful.
Title Bells with 20 bits. Hannah, super late, but what did you think of the Georgia debate? I wasn't able to watch, but all I see are memes about radical liberals. I didn't watch it. I tend not to watch debates. I watch clips and stuff, but I haven't even seen clips from that one. I'm so politicsed out after the last 4 years. I'm just like...
As
No
a movement,
moss.
and some of them are more significant than others in terms of their implications, but I still hear all of these within the volume of mainstream conservative discussion quite often. So I'm here to be like, actually, hopefully get us on the right track a little bit, wake us up a little bit. So that being said, the first one we have is, let me tell you something. Just wait until these snowflakes get into the real world and they'll see no one's gonna put up with their safe space gender theory nonsense, but the reality is that the real world is now just as woke. I'll give you a recent example.
It's also funny hearing John say that. I know he's saying it
nothing
derisively,
funny about
but
the tools
it's
of
a little
capitalism.
funny that he's saying that. Colossus TV with 20 bits. Bad boy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when you get lung cancer and die? Hey, mijo, you're gonna be deceased. That didn't fit at all.
Jordan Peterson announces the sequel to his incredibly popular 12 Rules for Life.
Oh,
The sequel is
that'll be
titled
fun.
Beyond Order, and it is being published by Penguin Random House, which is one of the largest and most reputable publishers in the world. So in response to this,
Mitchell Drummer with 20 bits. The real world. Wage slave at Subway. And then Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Is this the guy who lives with his parents telling us about the real world? I think he's actually gonna shit talk that talking point, but who knows?
the staff members at Penguin Random House literally threw a temper tantrum to the upper levels of the company. They were literally crying about the decision to publish Jordan Peterson, who is a completely reasonable guy, someone
No,
who's
he's
not
not.
even explicit.
I did a whole series that took months and months to do with Jake over on the Hannah and Jake channel, where chapter by chapter we went through the book. Jordan Peterson is not a reasonable person.
Political, someone who was only adopted by the American conservative movement because he's in favor of free speech, he doesn't like authoritarianism, etc. He's basically a classical liberal.
He also really relates to incels who shoot places up and blames women for incels being mass murderers, so good job, Jordan Peterson, you're nailing it.
So American conservatives were like, hey, let's promote this guy. And then the left responded by crying and branding Peterson as a Nazi, as a fascist, etc. So given that they weren't able to contain themselves at their job, what do you think happened? Do you think the company said, listen here, snowflakes, this is the real world. And if you have a problem with that, you can pack your things and leave? Or maybe the fact that you threw a temper tantrum, an audacious temper tantrum, at our decision to publish one of the most gifted and lucrative writers of our
The most gifted
lifetime.
and lucrative writers of our lifetime. I'll give you lucrative. People love that Jordan Peterson grift. Gifted? Fuck no. Have you guys read 12 Rules for Life? Oh my god. I hate his prose. It's just... Jordan Peterson does the thing, and I'm sure Jordan Peterson, even though I disagree with him on many things, I'm sure he's an intelligent person, or at least he was prior to the coma that he went in. I don't know the state of his, mental health these days. But, like, I understand he's probably intelligent. He has a PhD in psychology. But I also think his writing is shitty. His writing is shitty. Even outside of the content, if I politically agreed with Jordan Peterson, I would still find his writing insufferable. It's awful.
Means that we should just fire you. No, the company responded by saying, oh my gosh, no, don't worry. We're going to provide you guys a space and a forum to express your opinions. We totally support you guys. And they basically capitulated to the mob. Now, does this mean that companies shouldn't listen to their employees? No. It just means that progressivism, wokeism, is a cancer, and since conservatives like to say, well, no, corporations are just people, we need to understand that since the people in our country are infected by that, by extension, it means that our corporations are too. So what you think will be the real world smacking the libs in the face is actually just going to be you getting reported to HR and subsequently getting fired for misgendering somebody at the water cooler.
How about you don't do that then, John? How about you gender people correctly like an adult?
And the reason that this is important to note is that it is a talking point that implies deferring on the part of conservatives. To say, well, they'll just figure out once we put them in the real world. That's essentially saying, like, okay, well, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to call them out on their BS because someone else will do it 10 years from now, and it will totally undo their programming and social conditioning, and then they'll get a lifted truck and a Gadsden flag. That's just simply not the case.
Colston with 20 bets. Peterson is in a really bad state. He's visibly slower in speech and movements, and he recently was in a video basically saying that his health is in ruins and medicine isn't helping him. That's a shame as a, individual person. I don't like Jordan Peterson or his politics, but, that's not something I would wish anyone to go through.
Think about that timeline. Think about when they would hypothetically be entering the real world. Like you're telling...
Mitchell Drummer of 20 bets, as a poster once said to me, I'll believe corporations are people as soon as Texas executes one, and then Tiger White 94 with 20 bets. Oh my god, this cringe. It's like we're in a 2016 time loop, right?
I mean that some high school, college student, maybe 5 years from now, they're in the real world. Okay, sure. Think about where we were 5 years ago.
John, again, him talking about entering the real world is funny, since he hasn't done that yet. I don't know if John has paid a single bill in his entire life. He lives with his parents, which there's nothing wrong with. Again, I understand economic times are tough, so if you can't afford to go live on your own, I totally understand that. But it's just funny that from that position he thinks he can talk to other people about political realities when he literally is insulated from all consequence.
That's about the entire lifespan of the gender theory discussion in the mainstream, about 5 years. Where are we going to be if we don't take action for another 5 years? Because the trends would suggest that things are going to get even worse and that there's no such thing as the real.
Even worse, discussing gender because transgender people exist is apparently awful and tantamount to the destruction of society. And also, I'm pretty sure that discussion has been going for longer than 5 years. It's been put to the forefront since, like, gay marriage became legalized. People are talking about trans issues more often. But acting like it hasn't been a discussion is delusional. I don't even know how much John can remember from before 5 years ago. He was, like, 15 5 years ago, so I don't really care what John thought when he was 15. I barely care what he thinks now. It's just entertaining.
World, shocking them into reality. So it turns out that we actually have to be proactive and not just assume that people will eventually figure it out in the real world.
Title Bell with 20 bits. God, when I was a kid, I used to hate when people patronized and disrespected my views because I was young, but I still find that whenever I watch John, that's my initial thought. I'm really not liking that I do that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Because when the left has total control over the real world and exiles people like us from that, there will be no reality strikes moment. There will be this.
Can you mark transphobia? Are we doing bingo? I don't know. If you're doing bingo, I guess so.
Cemented woke narrative, and there will be hate speech penalties, and you will get to pick one of those. Now, allow me to shamelessly transition into John Doyle, Holiday Gift Authority. Did you know that you can actually achieve a multiplier effect on your God-given rights by exercising them simultaneously? Like if you were wearing a shirt that indicates that you probably carry a firearm while also carrying a firearm,
Beardy
that
Lover
will actually
Zero,
overstimulate the minds of those who wish to take your rights away and cause their brains to melt, drain out of
even Monty Python made a joke about gender assignments, yeah.
their noses, thereby fertilizing the tree of liberty. So let's start with the basics. We the People holsters make the highest quality, most customizable holsters for all of your pistols in the entire industry. They start at like $40, literally thousands of options, lots of epic prints for your holsters. The customization is incredible. You can adjust the cant and ride and tension of your holster for your favorite pistol with your favorite print, so it's totally customizable to fit your body comfortably and look exactly how you want it to look. But you already knew that, because if you watch this show and you like guns, that means you're smart. So you already knew that carrying a pistol and taking responsibility for your safety is the most important thing for you to do, especially now. And you already knew that We the People holsters is the kingpin of high quality, customized.
It's like self-parody at this point.
Pistol holsters, but what you might not know is that it's also incredibly important to make our presence known within the culture.
Devious Chilster with 20 bits. Hot take: if you need a custom holster that makes your gun look pretty, you probably don't need that effing gun. I guess I'm fine with people owning guns, but the gun fetishization on the right is bad. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. If this guy actually lived in the real world, he'd realize most people don't give a shit about the blue-haired feminists saying the men's is bad zisses. They've got real shit to worry about, like expensive healthcare and making money for rent via their wage slave jobs, you know.
How do we avoid being kicked out of the discussion? By making ourselves
Is he old enough to own a firearm? I think you gotta be 18. Yeah.
heard. We do it with the MAGA hats, and we can do it by wearing apparel that lets people know that we love our country and we love our guns, and actually we won't take one without the other. And maybe it sounds weird, but imagine being a normal person, right? You don't listen to the news, you don't really follow politics, but every now and then you see someone with a pro-Second Amendment hoodie or shirt. And now it's internalized in your brain that people like us exist, and we're proud to show you that. And so now, gun control debate comes up again. The media tries to make us sound like terrible fringe people. Then a lot of people will be like, no, wait a second. I just talked to a guy with an AR-15 hoodie on the other day when I was getting orange juice.
Is this how John thinks this works?
You're a perfectly normal, nice guy. The point is that the way that the left has been successful is by pushing their agenda.
Yes, literal virtue signaling. I love it.
And in your face and saying, this is normal, accept this. And it's about time that we start doing the same thing, because we are actually normal and this is our country. So head on over to
John, it's our country. We all live here. Devious Chilster with 60 bits. Oh, I'm fine with people owning guns. Can't grasp the means of production with your hands regardless of how low they hang. But you're right, the fetishization of what makes me think these people aren't stable enough for guns if they treat them with the same love they do in trying to find Christmas dog sweaters, yeah.
WeThePeopleHolsters.com/Doyle. You get an extra $10 off your entire order. Every holster ships free, comes with a lifetime guarantee. They make great Christmas gifts. The clothing is epic. Nothing says high energy like walking into a retail store with AR-15 Santa Claus on your hoodie. That is WeThePeopleHolsters.com/Doyle. Use code Doyle for $10 off. Very epic. I am the CEO of Holiday Incentivized Mass Consumerism.
Let me take a look. I gotta take a look at this stupid website. Hold on. Did they not even link to it in the thing? What was it? Whatholsters.com? We the People Holsters. We the People holsters. Yeah, we have a pro-gun SCOTUS. Nothing's gonna happen, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I don't care. A fucking Christmas sweater gun holster. Jesus Christ. Short. Let's look at their t-shirts. 1776. Of course, they got a thin blue line shirt.
The tools of capitalism.
They got no step on snake. They got... Oh no, they got a Donald Trump elephant. They sell people holsters. Nice. My aunt needs one for her kid. Funny, but a ding. Oh, look, they got one of these too. Buy American, drink more bourbon. Gun owner, victim, you choose. Oh, these are cringe. Oh no. It's a holiday, snow step on snake. Oh no. I just don't I can't imagine making this your identity. It's so bad. They sure do love the don't step on snake shit. Let's see what different holsters they have. Like what that's just all Christmas shit. Holsters. Printed holsters, yes. You could get a gun that has the Constitution, at least a little bit of it on it. Dracon with 100 bits. I don't know what you mean, Hannah. I'm planning on buying these shirts for everyone in my family. I'm sure they'll love them. Devious Chillster with 20 bits. Wait, that gun owner victim shirt implies more than what they think it does. Do they not see how that shirt is weirdly ominous and threatening, or is that the point? I don't think they realize, no. We got a thin blue line one. We got a bunch of camo, of course. We got American flag holsters. We got a Texas flag. Ooh, a Trump 2020 gun holster. Do you think John has this one? Because I'm sure John conceal carries. We got the Christmas ones, of course. We have weird... we have weird Spartan, like, print.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
MMO addicted to 20 bits. I mean, gun blank is always a thing in America. Gun dildo is a thing. Gun fleshlight is a thing. Gun everything is a thing. Yeah, there's another Trump 2020. That's funny.
Doyle for $10 off. Very epic. I am the CEO of Holiday Incentivized Mass Consumerism. But on that note, talking about guns, which are of course very epic, we have to get into the second one, and you might not agree with me on this, but just hear me out, and that is back the blue. Blue lives matter, all that rhetoric. So let me clarify.
Oh boy, here we go with this shit. DrakeCon with 20 bits. Where's my California flag holster? It's always the red states, but never the blue ones. And then Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. How do conservatives not understand the contradiction of believing don't tread on me and thin blue line? Because they think that as long as the police are on their side, it's fine. Would be my assessment.
Up front, of course blue lives matter. Of course police lives matter. Of course
the police aren't even in the top 10 most dangerous professions.
Vast majority of police officers are good people with a really tough job. But with...
Again, though, the entire point is if you're a good person, but you stand by and allow bad people to do bad things with no repercussions, then you're not a good person. This is why people say things like ACAB, right? It's not saying that every single person who wears a badge is inherently a piece of shit that abuses their power. But if you're part of an institution that continually allows people to murder others or get away with committing crimes with impunity, then you are a part of that system and therefore are tainted by said system. It's the phrase, a few bad apples spoils the bunch. The fact that there are bad apples that aren't being dealt with systematically makes the bunch spoiled. That's the point. Harriest Nick with 100 bits. As an Australian, it's kind of weird seeing rampant commercialization of gun marketing. Like, it's just kind of bizarro and gross. Yeah, I'd imagine from an outside perspective, it's very strange.
What scares me about this is that it seems that conservatives are developing this almost Pavlovian allegiance to the police as a response to the criminal activity of the left. And we need to be very careful because while police officers are generally good people, they also have a job. And when push comes to shove, the majority of them are just going to follow orders. And
Oh, is John gonna go ACAB because he's afraid the cops won't help them in their fascist coup attempt? That'd be pretty funny.
we have to remember that police officers exist as the enforcement, as the muscle for a system that hates people like us. I cannot tell you how many times I've been at a protest, the police show up, all the conservatives are cheering, oh yeah, blue lives matter, back the blue, and then the police start arresting the conservatives while letting the leftist mobs continue to do whatever they want.
If that's happening, John, then it's happening for a reason. I would imagine that's because right-wingers are more prone to brandish weapons around, if I had to guess. That XY girl with 20 bits is a friend who I lost to the alt-right gave me a no-step-on-snake flag as a present. Oh, gross. That's a shame.
Because you have to understand that Blue Lives Matter started as a response to Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter said, hey, police are racist and they're killing black people for no reason and we hate them. And so we said, no, that's actually not true. Don't incite violence against police officers. Their lives matter.
Tucker White 94, 20 bits, and this is what frustrates me the most. John Doyle not totally simping for cops shows that he's not a total dumb fuck. He's a pragmatist, and I think he recognizes that the apparatus of police, while it's going to tend towards right-wing stuff, I think even a lot of cops aren't, going to get on board with the kind of government that John Doyle would want to, so he's being pragmatic.
And that's all true. But the way I see conservatives starting to trust the police is starting to scare me, because it's like, I seriously think that if they came to confiscate our automatic assault weapons, because remember, it's not going to be Joe Biden.
There's nothing funny about
That's not going to be Pete Buttigieg going door to door. That's going to be the police who are just following orders.
DM Trey with 25 bits, fresh off work, and the first thing I hear is John Doyle. Hey, Hannah. Hey, chat. Y'all are valid AF. Welcome.
And I seriously think that there's now going to be a lot of people who just hand over their guns to the police like, oh, I'll tell you what, officer, I really support what you're doing. You got a tough job. And hey, on the way out, take a look at my bumper sticker. It says Blue Lives Matter, and I support you. Like, the point is that we need to remain skeptical of an entity that exists to serve authority, especially...
Yes, that's literally what... Oh my god, John. Yes, that's what, like, Black Lives Matter is saying, is that you should be skeptical of institutions of power that have the authority to kill with impunity. That's the entire point.
Especially if that authority hates people like us. Obviously, we still treat police with respect, and we acknowledge that many of them are our friends and family, good people. But it's still important to recognize that we have to keep our guard up, because a lot of people seem to have been brainwashed to a point where they'd be like, officer, I know that you have to go take my neighbor's AR-15 as well, but I will tell you that I'd take it as a personal insult if you didn't have sex with my wife right now because I support you.
What is with these people and the constant cucking imagery? It's like they bring it up all the time. What's with that?
Back the blue. So again, we love our cops, we love law enforcement, we love law and order, but we're also keeping our guard up because we know the risks of failing to do so. But anyways, on to the next one. Everyone's favorite phrase with which to dunk on the libs, to own the libs, and that is facts don't care about your feelings. So obviously facts are important, the truth is important, but this phrase properly understood is basically just a way for people to pat themselves on the back, like,
Title Bell with 20 bits, Hannah, don't kink shame him. I'll do my best.
Hey, listen here, liberal. These are the facts. Oh, you don't like the facts? You can't handle the truth? Are you triggered? Are you gonna cry? I'm a genius and I have no emotions. All I care about is facts, and I reject feelings. Are these
Don't kink shame cucks, Hannah. Hey, I'm not. You do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. I just find it very strange that the right is so focused on that as an insult. It is so weird.
Indicative of me being autistic? Yep. But it's okay because I'm epic. Like, that might make for viral right-wing content on YouTube, right? But for most people, that's not convincing. It's actually off-putting. And the reason for that is that people are not rational. People are big dumb, which means they don't know anything. But what they do know are things that they have experienced.
For a second, I almost thought John was going to be like, hey, even though it is true that we should have facts over other things, but at the end of the day, we need to take people's feelings into account, right? Because that's the empathetic thing to do. But nope. He just thinks everyone's the big dumb. Great.
Every day. They know their emotions, which is why emotional arguments are millions of times more effective than purely factual arguments. Does this mean that we just abandon facts and start crying to get what we want like the left does? No. It means that we use facts to arrive at what is good and what is true, and then from there we construct emotional arguments with which people can sympathize and relate. It's not black and white at all. Your arguments need to use facts to appeal to emotions. I'll give you an example. Let's say, hypothetically, someone dies. Crazy, right? And they died because someone shot them with a gun. So the purely emotional response from the left is, well, people are dying with guns, so we need to get rid of guns to save lives. And then literally no one will ever die again, ever. We will have transcended death and officially conquered nature. And the typical...
Wow, that's a pretty amazing straw man. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits, so close yet so far.
Conservative response would be, actually, if you look at the CDC data, it says that 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides, and all...
Yeah, that's my least favorite talking point about guns from people on the right. 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides. Yeah, yep. Those are still deaths that are caused by guns. I don't know what to tell you. Guns give people... How do I put this? How do I put this without being TOS? Okay, so many of you who followed me for years know that especially before I came out as trans, I have a history of attempting to end my own life. Let me tell you, if I had had a gun, I would have succeeded, right? Like, the more difficult it is to achieve that particular goal, the better, because it gives people time to reevaluate, and it gives people time to seek help that they wouldn't if they have an instant button to push or a trigger to pull to end their own life. 74 Quinn 74 with 20 bits. How much Adderall did John rail today? And again, like I said, I'm not against like gun ownership if it's done responsibly, but I just find that always to be an annoying talking point from them because it is something you need to, discuss. Guns are used in a huge part of successful suicide attempts. It's worth discussing. Devious Chilster with 20 bits. Still, deaths by people with guns that make it easier to commit a longer sleep than God intended, that can still be partially solved by better background mental well-being checks for gun owners. Sure. Empty the tanks with 20 bits. I'm glad you're still here, Hannah. You're a gem. Oh, thank you.
Also, the majority of mass shootings are committed in gun-free zones, which means that blah, 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 I'm just a robot, right? And it's not effective. It hasn't been effective for the last several decades in which we've tried that style. So instead, to actually persuade people, the approach should be something to the effect of, oh, well, how could you say that we need to confiscate guns when the average police response time in Detroit is 14 minutes? What if there's a single mother whose house gets broken into? Is she supposed to just call the police and hope for the best, etc.? That's a very basic explanation of the difference between the two styles of argument. But the point is that basically no one can sympathize with being a nerd about gun statistics, but they can sympathize with caring about the well-being of themselves and their family members. So the solution is to use the data.
Is the right going to learn that empathy is a successful political strategy finally? That would probably be good. I'm fine with empathy, even if they're using it pragmatically. Turf Warfare with 20 bits. Should I make my username Mold Fursuit? I mean, you could.
To build arguments that are relatable to people and that are compelling to them emotionally, not just reading off bullet points about data and declaring yourself victor by sheer virtue of facts and logic. And that kind of gets into the next one, which is, it's not really a phrase, more of a mentality that I've noticed, and I'm sure many of you have as well, and that is, there is nothing conservative about being selfish. A lot of times I've noticed that there's this attitude that permeates throughout conservatism of, well, I'm going to have my guns and my freedom, and whatever happens to anyone else is not my problem. All I care about is the absolute individual. And the problem with that is very simply that you cannot conserve America if you don't have America, if that makes sense.
Fickett Izzy with 55 bits. My cousin's grandma on their dad's side committed suicide this year because two members of the family who were all incredibly pissed at gave back her gun after it was taken away. It was a nightmare situation. Yikes. That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Like, a country exists for a reason. We're living together for a reason. And that reason isn't just that we all want to occupy the same geography. Like, the point of a country is to build bonds with your community and your neighbors, your family, friends, to have something in common, actually take interest in their well-being. There's nothing conservative about being like, I thank God every day for a country that gives my uncle the freedom to be hopelessly addicted to opiates. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
how does John Doyle get this close to understanding and then completely with it? Like, he's not even, he's so close but so far away. It's like those lines, though I forget what the concept is called in math, but it's like lines that are sort of parallel and they're increasingly like getting closer and closer to touching, but they never quite touch. That's John and the point. increasingly getting closer together, but never quite getting there.
Obviously, a large element of conservatism is personal responsibility. You take care of yourself, you pull your own weight, of course. But an element of conservatism that's arguably even larger and more important.
Stone Corbell with 20 bits. He is so dangerously close to understanding, and the word you're looking for is asymptote. Okay.
Is community. Charity, helping people who need it. The left wants to make that the responsibility of the government because they want to feel like they're helping without actually having to help, but it's our job to actually help people. You can emphasize personal responsibility while still being concerned about the well-being of those in your community.
All right, John, we already have that, though, right? If charity and people caring about each other without any sort of government intervention was going to solve homelessness or solve problems with drug addiction, they would have been solved, but they're not, which is why you need the power of a government behind it in order to affect change on a wide scale. That's why it's important, John. Dracon with 20 bits. He's the person who walks onto the bowling lane and then puts the ball in the gutter. Mitchell Drummer with 20 bits. Asymptote. Asymptote. Okay.
And if you reject the latter to emphasize the ultimate individual with no friends, no family, but lots of guns and a subscription to black.com, God bless America, then you're going to allow for the social fabric of this country to further deteriorate. And if that happens, when that happens, there's no chance for our country in the future because it won't even be a country at that point. It will just be a place for a bunch of people to dwell and wait to buy the next product. And that gets into our last one, which is that America's greatest enemy is socialism. The greatest threat to America is socialism.
John, your show is titled Heck Off, Commie. Do you not see the irony in you shitting on people for saying socialism is America's greatest enemy? Dr. Gamble with 50 bits. For the but what if someone breaks into your house argument. If someone breaks into your house, you leave the house and call for help, not confront the trespasser. That's literally the worst thing you can do. A gun could make the situation worse, yeah. I agree. You should retreat if you can, for your own safety.
So I'm here to tell you humbly that America will never be a socialist country because what America will actually be if we don't reverse the course will be so much worse than socialist. Our problem isn't socialism. Our problem is that those with power hate us. That power is in government, and that power is also in these transnational megacorporations. How is the government going to take over these businesses to implement socialism when these corporations are more powerful than the government?
Oh my god, again, John, yes, you're fucking right. You're right, but you're so wrong at the same time. It's so frustrating that he's making correct observations, but then his solutions to said observations are the opposite of what they should be.
And they've already bought the government off to a large extent. It isn't going to happen. What is going to happen is a continuation and an escalation of what we've seen basically for the last year, which is big business using the government to crush small business into the ground to transfer wealth from the pockets of middle-class families into the pockets of those in Washington, those in the bureaucracy and the administrative state, and those running these corporations. And their success is largely contingent upon you being distracted not only by mass consumerism, by new products and brands, new superhero movies and video games, but also even within your political involvement, being distracted by this idea that, oh, well, socialism's coming. We have to memorize the entire Free to Choose lecture series. No, we don't actually. I see no operative difference between standing in a bread line while state propaganda hangs over me and coats the walls of every building and standing in line at one of 3 grocery store chains left in the country telling myself that this is market competition and that I've made a choice as a rational consumer and then buying chemical food with money from my job that hasn't gone to paying off tens of thousands in debt from student loans and also predatory credit card loans. And then I go home, I watch television, I invest parts of myself into these Hollywood shows and movies.
Again, he's accurately describing problems with late-stage capitalism in America. And then his solution is Donald Trump. I don't understand, chat. Chat, what is his brain? What is his brain that this is... He can look at things and be like, this is problem. And then he's completely unable to actually look at solutions to said problems outside of promoting, totalitarian fascist dictatorships.
Worship celebrities, and I'm convinced that I am free because at least it's not exactly socialism, but in reality it's probably worse than socialism because at least with socialism, you're not free, but with this, they're brainwashing and numbing you into thinking that you're free because you at least have the choice to partake in your own self-destruction, right? They've structured the society such that the easiest thing for you to do is to become an isolated, apathetic debt slave whose greatest purpose is working in a cubicle and whose greatest mental task of the mind is thinking about what kind of dining set defines you as a person and who will be miserable in that life, but confused as to why, since they're ostensibly free.
Puffin Time with 100 bits. This is why John is going to cringe the most epic cringe in 5 years. He's going to figure this out eventually. Maybe. I don't know if I have that much faith, in him to actually make that change. I've heard his parents are also pretty right-wing, so he's been, like, in it for his whole childhood. I don't know if he's capable of recognizing the fallacious nature of, like, how he wants to solve these problems. Logarth with 50 bits, I have a solution for hair falling out and suppressed immune system because of chemotherapy, and it's more cancer.
Right? I don't want to live in that world. No one wants to live in that world, so we're staying sharp, we're staying high energy, we got big plans in general, but also on this channel specifically. Important stuff coming very soon. But in the meantime...
I can't wait for John's video on YouTube banning election fraud conspiracy theories. That'll be fun.
About this country, I would advise you to get very comfortable in this fight, and with the knowledge that you will be doing this for the rest of your life. Because as the saying goes, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. Except the baby boomers are kind of a lost cause, and we've lost a lot of ground. So it's going to be our time, our job instead. So, very cool. Wait a second, don't go anywhere. We're building community, group activity. I declare now, when I snap my fingers, everyone will collectively leave the video a thumbs up. This will form bonds. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Ready? Okay. At this point, everyone should have left a thumbs up on the video. I'm now going to snap my fingers again, at which point you will leave a comment on the video. If you cannot finish your comment by the time the activity has moved on, worry not. You can complete at your own pace. Cue it up. Here we go. There we go. Moving on. I'm going to snap my fingers again, at which point you will subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications. Keep in mind that if you've already done this step, this is your break. Very good. Almost done. 2 more. I'm going to snap my fingers again, at which point you will. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, leave a comment. Wait a minute. Okay, never mind. I forgot the other stuff I was going to tell you to do. I have failed. The group activity has failed, the community has dissolved, the age of man is gone, and we are going to be conquered by Chinese robots and robots that are Chinese. I blew it. I blew it. It's over. Show's over, folks. Christmas ties off. I messed up. Just kidding. I was going to try and bring it back. Like, just kidding. I'm actually optimistic. I didn't ruin it, but I ruined it. I did. I'll be honest. I ruined it. So, thank you so much for watching, and may God bless America.
Oh, the rambling at the end of these videos lately has been absolutely insufferable. Antipodian Squid with 100 bits. How doesn't he realize that these problems are caused with capitalism when he is describing them as problem being experienced in the last year or more when in that time frame we've been living under capitalism, right? I don't know. I have no idea. Dr. Gamble with 100 bits. Interestingly, if you do get a gun, they say pump action shotgun with blanks is a good idea. The sound of the shotgun pumping might be threatening enough to chase the trespassers away. Seems they say gun is more effective as a terror tactic than shooting burglars. I could see that. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Hype Train. We are in a Hype Train. 23%. Dracon with 100 bits. Hype Train. Thanks for the 100 bits. So yeah, that's enough John for today. I'm interested to see what he's going to say when it turns out he can't talk about election conspiracy theories anymore. That'll be fun. But good luck, John. Good luck. I do a lot of mouth noises that are annoying. I'm sorry. It's not intentional. It's a tick. I'm trying to stop. What else are we going to do?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Dracon with 50 bits. Hannah mouth noises ASMR. I think that sounds terrible. Okay, during the hype train, we'll watch this video. This is a stupid video that I just wanted to watch for the meme. I just think it's funny. This is, and let me be clear, this is a video that even Jeremy isn't taking seriously. I recognize that. I'm not stupid. I understand he's not talking about this seriously. He's doing it because it's funny, which is the same reason I'm going to be looking at it. Because someone who was, I think, part of, like, Israeli intelligence has come out and claimed that aliens are real and that Donald Trump knows about it. And it's just funny. So let's just see what the quartering has to say about it. Enreath with 100 bits, Hype Train, and Ready for Perfect with 50 bits, blowing off steam before job interview tomorrow. No better way than Chud watch. Nice. Vic the Victim, thank you for subscribing. Ready for Perfect, I hope your job interview goes well. Puffin Time with 100 bits, Jeremy PP on the floor, very sad. We're at 34% of the Hype Train. Cats are neat too, thanks for the 50 bits.
I knew it! I knew they were out there. I've always wanted to believe, and now we have some public confirmation. Now, maybe this person will be dismissed as a crackpot, but for now, a former Israeli space security chief says that extraterrestrials exist, and Donald Trump knows about it. Declassify them. Oh my god.
You know how I know this is untrue? Because if Donald Trump knew aliens were real, he wouldn't be able to not mention it at some point. 0% chance Donald Trump knows that there are aliens if aliens exist. Freezer burn with 100 bits. Hype train. Let's go.
Trump, on the way out the door, whether it's now or in 4 years.
Cats are neat too, by the way. New stream boss.
Let us
nice.
clap them alien cheeks.
Gross. The Lexa Black with 300 bits. Hype train. Choo choo.
A galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are. Allegedly.
Ashy Boo 74 20 bits. Yeah, aliens are probably real, but there's no way they looked at this and went, "Oh yeah, let's get in the middle of that."
I mean,
true.
It's basically been a part of our
I wouldn't come to Earth
for a very long
voluntarily.
time. It's been a part of pop culture as part of my entire life. I mean, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I mean, come on, bring on intergalactic currency and space drinks and teleportation.
Ethical Fuss, thank you for subscribing with Prime.
Listen, aliens, stop by. Come, stop by my humble set. I've got Earth food that you'll probably hate.
And basement pee. I don't think the aliens want to go down to Jeremy's basement. That can't be a sanitary environment for them. Enreath with 20 bits, and when I was the president, I was the guy who told you about the aliens, and the Democrats won't tell you that. No, I don't get any credit for that. Logarth with 50 bits. Why do you think he started Space Force? He's building a space wall and making Malvec pay for it. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. I like to imagine Mike Pence gives Trump a MAGA yo-yo to play with as he actually meets with the alien ambassadors.
And
I don't think that would go well either. I think Mike Pence's evangelical Christianity would probably not jive with extraterrestrials very well.
You can have all the Earth food you want, and we can do a reveal here to the world on YouTube. What a better way to do it.
DM Trey, thanks for gifting
Israeli
us up.
space security chief has sent eyebrows shooting heavenward, saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation. The unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Chaim Eshed, former head of Israel's Defense Ministry's Space Directorate, told Israel's newspaper. The interview in Hebrew ran on Friday and gained traction after parts were published in English by Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. A respected professor and retired general, he said that aliens were equally curious about humanity and were seeking to understand the fabric of the universe.
I wonder what the reasoning is for lying about this. Genuinely. Like, why make this up just for a newspaper interview? I don't understand the end game. Oh, maybe he's going to write a book or something and he wants to sell the book. Dracon with 100 bits. I know this isn't true because if America knew about aliens, there's no way they wouldn't try to start a war with them.
He said that cooperation agreements have been signed.
Or he'll go, like, talk at UFO conventions and stuff and have them pay him to come speak.
Between species, including an underground base in the depth.
Kind of like that Bob Lazar guy. You guys know about Bob Lazar? Bob Lazar is an American ufologist who I believe he claims he worked at Area 51. It's all a big grift. It's honestly a brilliant grift. For decades now, he's come out and he's been like, yeah, I saw the alien spacecraft, and, you know, he goes and he writes books, and he goes to the conventions, he's been on Joe Rogan. His story has changed multiple times, as you would imagine it would, but, you know, whatever. It's a grift.
Of Mars, where all American astronauts...
Is he Rem Lazar's cousin? I don't think so. Because Rem Lazar's real, okay? Aliens aren't. Bob Lazar. I think it's spelled differently, too.
Where there are American astronauts and alien representatives. Elon, care to weigh in?
Uh,
There is an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens, he said. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here, he said. He also added that President Donald Trump was aware of the extraterrestrials' existence and had been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to in order to prevent mass hysteria.
honestly, this is parroted also in like the first Men in Black movie, like that society itself will break down if we found out aliens are real. But really, would it really? I think people would freak out for a while, but I don't know. Why would that lead to like rioting in the streets? We'd just be like, oh shit, there's aliens. That's cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving too much like benefit of the doubt to humanity, but I don't foresee that being any sort of like civilization ending event or anything. I think people would just be like any interesting new thing we discover, be like, oh wow, let's learn about this now. I don't know.
I mean, as long as the aliens just want...
I'm sure there would be like alien racism, literal xenophobia, I guess. But like that would be a problem no matter what. So I guess I don't understand what the issue would be.
chill. As long
58
as they want
seconds
to chill,
left on the hype
as
train.
long as they want to, not take over the planet, why would anyone be worried? They've been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage.
All these dang aliens taking our gerbs. Cast Iron Pan, thanks for the 100 bits. Tiger White 94, 20 bets. I'll be disappointed in the existence of aliens doesn't involve this. Let me see.
There's nothing funny about the tools of...
Attention universe!
Oh, it's the clip from South Park. I can't play that. I don't want to get this video. I know the clip, though. Dracon, thank you for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs. Nice.
There's nothing funny about the tools
Comrade
of
Devin,
capitalism.
thanks for the 20 bits. Enreath with 20 bits. I wanted to pay money to highlight this. Puffin time. The pee that goes down the drain in Jeremy's basement goes to power a water wheel that powers a satellite dish that receives alien transmissions. He's on the
nothing
top of
funny
the
about the
game.
tools of
Jesus
capitalism.
Christ. 74 Quinn, 74 with 100 bits. Thank you. Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. I mean, there might be mass hysteria among the religions. I could see that. Religions, but bear in mind, religions dealt with, like, the discovery of the new
There's
world
nothing funny about the
just
tools of
fine.
capitalism.
There was some growing pains, but nonetheless, they adapted, and the same thing would happen if aliens were discovered. Excessive Observer, thank you for gifting a sub as well.
Until today, where we will understand
nothing
in
funny
general
about the
what
tools
space
of
and spaceships
capitalism.
are, Ished said, referring to the Galactic Federation. The White House Department of Defense and Israeli officials did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. His ideas are spelled out in more detail
nothing
in
funny
The
about
Universe
the tools
Beyond the
of
Horizon
capitalism.
Sugary
Conversations
Zachary,
with
thanks for the 100
Professor
bits.
Chaim Ished by Hagar Yani, published in November. He oversaw the launch of numerous Israeli satellites into space and
There's nothing
is only
funny about
speaking
the
out
tools
now
of
because
capitalism.
attitudes were changing and people seem more receptive.
Wouldn't that be just the best capper to 2020 if we found out aliens are real? That'd be rad. I think theoretically,
Nothing
like,
funny
it
about
seems
the tools of
statistically,
capitalism.
we exist. It's clear that life can exist in the universe because we are that. So it seems to me that somewhere out in the universe, there's got to be other life. Intelligent life at that, probably.
There's
I just
nothing
don't
funny
think we're
about
going to
the
meet
tools
them
of
ever
capitalism.
because of the distances involved, but who knows? I could be wrong. Dracon with 20 bits. There's going to be at least one major religion that starts worshiping the aliens as the second coming of their god savior. Ooh, I could see that. Devious Chillster with 20 bits.
There's
Did they
nothing
go
funny
through
about the
Hannah?
tools
Did
of
they really
capitalism.
adapt? Did they though, Hannah? Did they really adapt? I mean, they adapted in the sense that they ended up doing some really shitty things, if you know what I mean.
There's nothing funny about the tools
I didn't
of
say the
capitalism.
adaption was good. Ready for Perfect with 50 bits. 2020 has been about 400 years long, so I assume it's time for First Contact.
Quote, if I'd come up with what I said 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized, he
There's
told
nothing
them.
funny about
Today,
the
they're
tools of
already
capitalism.
talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad. In May, Trump said space is going to be the future, both in terms of defense and offense. We're now the leader
There's nothing
on
funny about the
space.
tools of capitalism.
No, we're not. I mean, humans definitely aren't. I guarantee that. If we know that aliens have traveled to It's often there's that saying, right? Like people like, why haven't, if aliens exist, why haven't they revealed themselves to us? Well, if they've mastered intergalactic travel and they see us puny humans like killing each other over dirt in the ground, they're probably going to see us more like cockroaches and not a superior life form or a form worth stopping to talk. You don't stop.
I don't agree with that assessment necessarily. I think they would probably view us more so the way, I don't know, and I'd hope they'd be more enlightened than this, but like Columbus meeting indigenous peoples of the Americas. Like, I think they'd still recognize human beings as having the potential for rational thought and like the ability to create things like cities and vehicles and society. But like, I don't know. The idea that they'd see us as ants, I don't necessarily agree with that. I would think even though sentient life in the universe, even if it exists, I'd still think would be relatively rare. You know what I mean? Most planets don't have it, so I'd still think finding it somewhere would always be kind of an interesting thing, anthropologically, if for no other reason. Ready for Perfect with 50 bits. 2020 has been about... Oh, already read that one. Sorry. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. They'd view us as man animals who only uses mining gold. I don't know if I've seen a Battlefield Earth reference in a very long time. We'll let you join the Space Federation, but you have to get rid of capitalism first. And that will be the day the United States military declares war on the universe.
And talk to cockroaches on the ground. That's, I mean, quite honestly. In May, Trump said space is going to be the future. We're now the leader in space. He said
Minute and a half
the
left on the
official
hype
flag
train.
of the newly created military branch, Space Force. Its focus, along with Space Command, is on space as military domain for the United States, preserving satellites and communications, and a focus on geopolitics and new terrain. The comment immediately spawned jokes and theories online. At least half a dozen accounts have been created on Twitter claiming to be representatives to Earth from the Galactic Federation. Other users have asked for preferential treatment.
Tucker White 94 says, this is not often I get to reference a piece of shit like Battlefield Earth. I'm having PTSD from the Dutch angles. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Call me cynical, but I think they'd probably be more interested in mining the planet than in conservation, depending on how advanced they were. I don't even think that's true either, because, like, if you can travel in space, there are countless dead planets that don't have anything living on them that you could mine for resources that it would be much easier to do. I would imagine if they discovered Earth, the most valuable thing on the Earth would be the fact that there is a civilization here. Like, how much they value that would be, you know, depending upon, like, how they think, but I don't see any other thing here that they would not be able to get elsewhere easier.
And meetings with the group. I mean, is this person a crackpot looking for attention? I mean, he's 87 years old. Is there mental faculties?
Level 4 hype train. Not bad. Thanks, everyone.
Deteriorated?
What about water? If you can create a spaceship that's capable of interstellar travel, you can create water. I mean, scientists now can create water. It's just, like, really, really expensive and doesn't make any sense to do with our current technology. But, like, if you have the capability to travel throughout the galaxy with relative ease, then you can make water.
Probably. Do I believe that humans are the only life force in the universe? Of course not. Of course not. Do I believe that there are life forms that know we...
If aliens were interested in anything valuable, if we're thinking of things in those terms, I would hope that an alien civilization isn't considering, you know, that above all else. It would be very sad if we met aliens and they were capitalists. That would be very, very sad. Like if we have first contact and instead of the Vulcans, it's the Ferengi. Not a good time. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. But what if the alien can't get past wood or finds water to be acid? Signs, right? I think I get that one. Mitchell Drummer with 20 bits. Do you believe in life after love? God. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Oh my God, they want us for the adrenochrome. No, but what I was saying is, if there were aliens, and I know
Nothing
this
funny
is
about
a
the
weird
tools of
conversation for
capitalism.
Chud Watch, but I just wanted to end on this today because I find it to be a fun conversation. If aliens were to come to Earth and they had capitalistic intent where they're looking for valuables, it would probably be in the same way that, like, today, I don't know, if we discover a new species of animal or some kind of special bacteria that does something, and we try and figure out if we can use the processes that that thing uses to make a consumer product. Like, oh, we had discovered this new plant. Can we use it to make medicine? This bacteria does this specific thing. Can we use it for some other purpose? I would imagine that's how they would look at the Earth. The valuable things on it would be the life forms that are novel by their standards, I would think. Who knows, though?
Exist? Yeah, I do. We know but just a grain of sand in the world's largest beach about this universe. We're only now being
There's nothing funny
starting to
about the
explore
tools of
just
capitalism.
barely outside of our backyard.
Tucker White 94 with 20 bits alien ambassador. We come to this planet called Earth to obtain a McDonald's franchise license. I've thought about this before. Guys, think about this. Like, let's say there was a galactic civilization and Earth became a part of it. And, you know, let's imagine, for the sake of this conversation, that they think relatively similarly to us due to convergent evolution or some bullshit. Who knows? Like, if they were selling Earth as a tourist destination, like, ooh, a brand new backwater planet that doesn't even have hyperdrive yet. Like, how do you talk about it? You'd be like, oh, the official food of planet Earth is McDonald's. The official beverage of planet Earth is something called Coca-Cola. Like, just looking at it from those terms is very depressing.
With, you know, scale that is, there are no words to describe. I mean, there are infinities, and then there are infinities that are longer than other infinities. There are, I mean, we don't have no idea how many universes there are.
Jeremy gets existential. This is the content I'm here for.
Or how many, not universes, but how many solar systems there are, or how many planets are there planets that exist without a sun. How many suns are there in the universe?
There are planets that exist without stars that they're orbiting. They're called orphan planets. That's a thing.
We have no real idea. The idea that, though, if true, this would coincide with President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as a fifth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, though it's unclear how long this sort of relationship, if any, has been going on between the U.S. and its reported extraterrestrial allies. I don't think they would be our allies. I think if I had to venture a guess about alien life forms that have the technology to travel intergalactically, I don't think they'd be here to just chill. I don't think they'd be here to just study. Maybe. I imagine they'd be looking for resources, and I would just hope the Earth doesn't have them. Whatever unobtainium that they need, I just hope the Earth doesn't have it. And President Trump, if this is true, you've got to declassify it, man. Pardon
There's
Snowden.
nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Declassify this on the way out the door. Break all their toys. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Enreath with 20 bits. Just because you have violent impulses, Jeremy, doesn't mean everything does.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
And then Tucker White 94, thankfully, this will never come about because space doesn't exist. Nathan Thompson said so. That's true. Jeremy has yet to be flat smacked by Nathan Thompson, apparently. I don't know. Weird stuff. I just thought that would be funny to look at today. Is Matt playing Cyberpunk 2077 already? Oh, no. Maybe getting
There's
ready.
nothing
Oh,
funny about the
short
tools of
stream. Okay, maybe waiting up to Cyberpunk. Mitchell Drummer with 65 bits, who I believe is the new stream boss. Nice. Dracon with 20 bits. The first aliens that show up are going to be missionaries, and they're going to convert us all to the space pope. All right. Is there anyone else that you guys... I don't know. That you guys would like me to raid that I'm not familiar with? Any small channels, potentially? Would be good. Though it could be, you know, someone else. But I would like to promote smaller people. Puffin Time says, I don't know if I could handle the meeting of the minds between Jeremy and Nathan. Someone says at Tina2, and then someone else echoes that. Okay. Altered Runner, remember to check DMs. Thank you. I will. Tina2. Hold on. Tina _ 2? This person?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Okay. Alrighty. Sure. What are their pronouns? Is it
You came in asking.
just for my own
why can't
sake?
I say rape jokes?
I just hope the aliens look
chat,
like
you can
this,
make
and
your
then there's a
conclusion
link.
from that. Raid incoming? From who?
Oops. She, her. Okay.
Is it the elephant? Or not? I was just wanting to check.
All right.
David's talking about me.
So everyone, enjoy this stream. I'll be back tomorrow for something else. So I'll see you guys then. Have a good night. Enjoy Cyberpunk if you're going to be playing it later tonight. Bye, everyone.
I know there's going to be times where I miss comments and you'll ask questions and I'll read the one above and then read the one below and you think I'm ignoring you or something.
Okay.
Hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.